All right, so Mac, good to have you on. We are live on Twitter and YouTube. It's been a while. I think April was last time you were on the stream.
Yeah, April.
And man, 3 hours it was. That was
It didn't feel like 3 hours. But...
No, I still wonder like what we talked about for 3 hours anymore. But we talked about some red pill stuff, like Jordan Peterson, some interesting stuff, and now I'm trying to do like 6 questions with a bunch of people. I figured you'd be a good person to get a baseline for how to answer these questions, because so far it's been a bunch of people I know personally. You're one of the few people I know almost strictly from the internet.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just going to go right into it. First question. Right or wrong, Law and Order, where do you think that comes from? Do you think men can decide on that logically, or do you think that's something that's kind of already set?
I think it's I kind of have like a weird opinion on this. I mean, maybe not weird. I'm Christian, so obviously I believe that it's a divine type thing. But I also, to some extent, think that humans have been given reason, and that it is possible to logically think about something and come to it through that as well. So kind of both, which is kind of a cop-out. But
no, actually, I kind of agree with you. I don't think it's a cop-out. On my last stream, the answer I gave is I think that my answer was that it's completely external. And my justification was that because humans don't need to necessarily exist, like if there's a universe without humans, to me there would still be a divine order, divine nature. So like without us, there would still be reason. That on top of it is like we have created, like the way we perceive everything that is, we do create our own way of saying we probably shouldn't do this or that. And I think, like you said, it is both. It's there's something already happening without us, and we're creating something in our own nature, and then we call that right or wrong. So it kind of is a weird cop-out, but I think that without us, there already is one, so that we're almost like the chicken. It's chicken or the egg debate, really. You know, that's the whole point of having these questions, though. Second one, a little lighter. What is your earliest happy memory?
Oh, some of these I knew were coming, and I still didn't think about them. Okay, I think like the youngest that I can remember, like a memory that I talk about all the time with my family, is my cousins and my brother and I would always spend weekends with my grandparents, and they had like a couple acres and like a garage where my grandpa would work out on cars. And he would be the one that would put us to bed every night. And he like always told us one specific story. And I've asked him about it, and he's just older now. So he's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know where I made that up from. But he would always tell us the story about...
He doesn't remember the story?
Huh?
He doesn't remember the story?
No, I think he just
made him up on the fly?
Yeah, it was a fictional thing. And I just think it was so long ago now, he just doesn't remember it.
That's crazy.
But it was like this fictional story about this farmer named Bill, which is his name, who would like tend to the ducks and like the chickens and all that, because my grandparents used to have like chickens and like horses and a couple other animals. And he would just tell us a story about like, and then the farmer went down to the pond and like all this stuff, and it would just put us to sleep because it was just so soothing, and it was just like the same thing, you know. It was like a storybook for children, basically.
Yeah.
But that's like one of my earliest memories, is him just like laying in bed with us all, or like on the floor with us all, and on like the sleep pallet, and him just telling us that story so we could fall asleep.
Well, I'm sure like if anything changed in the story, like even though he didn't remember it, you'd catch him on and be like, that's not how it happens, because that's how I was. Yeah. Just going back to the old memories, my dad there's a book on planes he had, and he always tells a story that I was like only, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 at the time. And like he would try to skip a page if he saw me falling asleep. And like the way he tells the story, I was obviously small, is that I would be dozing off and he'd skip a page, and I'd catch him and be like, no, you got to talk about the Boeing 747. You know, like I wouldn't let him not tell the whole book, even if I was like passing out. That's another happy memory for me. That's it. It's like spending time. It's just the little things. It's not ever like the big, you know.
Yeah.
I was joking last time. Like my family took me to Sesame World when I was a kid. I really like Sesame Street or Sesame Place or whatever in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I don't remember any part of like meeting any of the characters. I remember like waiting in line in the rain that day. Like that's what I remember from it. I don't remember like all the events we went to. That kids remember the little things, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's like we went to Disney World when I was 5 and my brother was 4. And the only thing I remember about it is being absolutely. I had this book that you could buy where you could get the characters' autographs.
Okay.
And
Like a little passport kind of deal?
yeah, and you give it to the person in the costume and they
Yeah,
would
yeah.
sign it. And I was cool with everybody except the one person who's actually human, which was the fairy godmother. I was terrified of her. It was just like this sweet old lady dressed up as a fairy godmother, and all I remember is just bawling, and my parents being like, "What is your issue? Like, you're cool with everybody in giant costumes, but like the real lady," I was like terrified of her. And my parents.
The fairy godmother from Cinderella?
Yes.
She's supposed to be like the sweet old lady, like
I
the.
know. There are pictures. My parents took pictures of me bawling next to her. Like there are pictures, and she was just like this sweet old lady, just like the fairy godmother's supposed to be, and I was terrified of her. Like I don't know why. I guess the only old person I was cool with was my grandma. I don't know, but I was terrified of her.
Wow, that's so funny. You're like, no other old ladies on top of my number one.
I guess. I don't know. It must have been that she was old and I was scared. I can't think of any other reason why I would be scared of her, but maybe I like thought she was a witch or something. I don't know, but
That could be. I mean, I don't know. I always had an issue with clowns. Not to like compare the two, but like for me,
I was a clown.
You were a clown?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the photo I posted on Twitter a while back when this whole clown world thing was going on, but I was in clown club.
I think I might have seen it. You went clown face?
Yeah, and people said it was extra creepy because I had like the Jesus fish drawn on my clown makeup instead of.
Oh, I gotta find this. I gotta find this somewhere. I don't think I've ever seen that picture.
Here, maybe I can. I'll look
if you, yeah, I mean, you can post it eventually, like later on in the day. Yeah. You have to pull it up right now, but
I posted on Twitter a few months back.
That's hilarious, or just like retweet it or something. I don't know. That's wild. I mean, I watched it recently just because of my clown fear, and I'm like finally over it. I actually thought it 1 and 2 were actually pretty good, even though I have like a fear of clowns. I don't know. I thought the cinematography, the casting, a lot of it was actually pretty solid. I heard that the 1997 version was actually pretty creepy, like not good creepy. It was just kind of like weirdly done because they didn't do like special effects or anything.
Ooh, that might make it creepier, actually.
Exactly. Like the new one is actually pretty good CGI, but. Did you see them though? I don't know. I kind of just went on a little tangent. Have you seen It 1 or 2, the new ones?
No, I don't watch scary movies.
Oh, okay. I don't watch scary movies either.
Which is stupid.
That's why.
I love Stephen King's writing. Like, I've read a lot of Stephen King books. I've read the book in it.
Do you like Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining?
No, I've never like seen the
with Jack Nicholson. That's like the Here's Johnny. Like
it's famous, I know. Like I know the scene like where he's coming through the wall.
Yeah.
And everything. Yeah.
I would recommend watching it one time.
Maybe because it's older, it wouldn't be as scary as like modern stuff is. With, like,
it's more of a psychological scary than a.
See, that gets me though.
Oh,
like,
okay.
When you can't like monster. See, I would probably be okay if it. Like jump scares get me, but not like really bad.
It was like you're. If you can't watch The Shining, don't jump to it. I'll put it that way. Because like it is all about. It is like some shape-shifting entity that can like teleport to wherever it wants to be, and it always tries to find your biggest fear because it wants to eat you when you're at your most scared. That's why it normally shows up as a clown because most people are afraid of clowns. But it's just like a shape-shifting like.
The last
monster.
So I've seen, what have I seen that's like remotely scary? I've seen like Silence of the Lambs, which is like
I love Silence of the Lambs.
So that scared the hell out of me as a kid. Now I would watch it and I'd be like, okay, that's really creepy, but like it's not scary. And then I've seen Insidious. I watched that like right when my husband and I started dating because like that's when it came out like years ago.
My sister, my dad like scary movies. I think they recommended me watch that one. I think I passed on that one.
It's not that scary. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't scared of it.
I don't remember watching it though. I don't remember thinking good or bad of it. I'm just not,
And then I've seen Haunting in Connecticut, which
Connecticut.
scared me real bad. I like didn't want to take a shower after watching that movie because there's a scene where like the daughter I think is in the shower and the shower curtain like wraps around her and is suffocating her. I'm like, what?
To me, it's those certain moments that are kind of the weirdest. It's like when I can picture myself easily doing that myself, just in my daily habits. I'm like, that's too much. That hits too close to home.
Yeah, it was not cool. But that's like Haunting in Connecticut came out, I think, when I was still in high school. So it's been like 7 years now since that.
You're Midwest, right? You're not East Coast?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Central. That's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
I was trying to place where I didn't remember where you're from.
Yeah, Midwest.
Yeah, Midwest. That's what I thought.
I'm not a coastal heathen.
That's it. Yeah, Cleveland myself. So, but I don't know. I like the coasts, but I would never really want to live on the coasts, especially given some of the weather issues they have. The one thing, like, we get our snow, but I'll take snow over hurricane.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a.
Apparently, California just never has issues.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to
Earthquakes, I guess. Forest fires.
I've never been to the West Coast, so I can't say anything about the West Coast. But I've been all up and down the East Coast and South, except I haven't been to Texas. But that, I mean, like Florida, like coastal areas there.
Yeah.
And I don't really like the beach, and I don't really like the weather on the East Coast. I like the Midwest, and it's so funny because I talk to people and they're like, "Don't you want to escape?" And blah, blah. I'm like, "No, I love it here. I'm centrally located.
Yeah.
The only thing that can happen to me is a tornado.
Yep.
And maybe a blizzard. So I'm good. Like as long as I have a basement to go when the tornado happens, I'm fine. So
have a generator for when the power goes out.
Right. That's pretty much it.
That's it. But it's also nice, like the nature. Like I lived in Chicago for the year, and like the one thing I missed was just the changing seasons. Like,
yeah,
it's really, I don't know. I'm not even that big of an outside person, but I like having it around, like more than being in the middle of a urban sprawl.
Yeah, I'm like a suburbs to rural person. I don't really like cities.
Yeah.
Unless I'm like traveling to them for like vacation or something. When I'm like specifically going there. Like I don't like to like go visit like I don't know. My brother went to school up in Chicago, so I've been in Chicago quite a bit. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good note to just move on with another question. And actually, this one I'm curious what you're going to say too. What is the most controversial stance you hold that you wish you could? I'm going to throw in a special line for you that you wish you could talk about more face to face in your daily life. Because most people I just say, what's the most controversial stance you hold you could talk about more often? But you talk about those often on Twitter, so.
Yeah, it gets me. I was gonna say, yeah, because I pretty much talk about all of them on Twitter.
Yeah, what's one you wish you could do face to face more often?
I would say for me, face to face, I wish I could talk about this weird juxtaposition within like nerd and cosplay communities. Or like costuming for people that don't know, where people are really artistic. They're about expression and becoming someone else with makeup and costumes, or like creating art that, you know, portrays something, but they're all very leftist. And I don't mean like classical liberal. I mean like they're commies. Like,
yeah,
and I'm not exaggerating. And at like conventions, I feel like face to face, like I legitimately have friends I cannot even mention anything political with whatsoever because I know A, they just wouldn't be friends with me,
right?
Or B, they'll just like there's a legitimate.
And the issue I find with people leftists like that is it's like you say political, but sometimes even entertainment gets political. Like if someone, one of the big things for me anymore, there's so many things that are polarizing. You feel like you're navigating a minefield. But one thing that hits home for me is Star Wars. Like, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. What they did to Star Wars to me is like, I will probably be bitter for the rest of my life, regardless of what they do in the rise of, like, I don't think, like, it's going to be a scar. And I'm going to attribute it to this current movement. And, like, when someone brings it up, they say, oh, what'd you think of Last Jedi? Was it empowering? I'll be like, no. It destroyed a beautiful piece of art that George Lucas made back in the 60s.
Yeah,
the 70s.
It's funny you mention that because you're right. It's not even necessarily that you can't talk about politics, is you can talk about a specific side of politics.
Exactly.
And that's why it's annoying, like, because I understand, like, I have, my Twitter's very both things.
Yeah.
Like, I blend everything together on Twitter. But I do have, like, a separate Facebook for my costuming and a separate Facebook for my politics, because I understand how annoying it is when you really like an artist or someone that does something and they just won't shut up about politics and you don't agree with them.
Right.
And I understand I'm that person for somebody on Twitter, so I want them to be able to follow me, and I just post pictures of my costumes, and they can just be like, oh, cool costume, without, like, some stupid caption. Or...
Well, you've almost created, and I don't mean this as an insult, you've almost created two identities for yourself. But that's not even a bad thing. It's almost like two different hats you're wearing.
Yeah. And, I mean, that's why I used to not use Twitter at all. I've had a Twitter since 2009.
Yeah.
And that's why I started using Twitter more, because I legitimately talk about both things there, and some people enjoy that. So it's like a place where I can be both things and not have to feel like I'm like.
Well, I told you my take on cosplay, right?
I don't know. I don't remember it.
Yeah, I'm not too big into it. Like, but like actually, I think it's kind of weird. No offense, it's weird to me. But the thing is, I support you, like, as a person. I respect your ideas. I respect who you are as a person. And, like, more power to you. I'm glad you're doing well in it. And it's just, like, it's not my, like, I wrestle. Wrestling, I coach it. I do all that. A lot of people think it's weird. And realistically, it's like, fine. I enjoy doing it. It's my thing. You might not understand it or even like it. But that's kind of what everything is. I think people need to have those unique things that they enjoy doing. And it's weird that you should feel like, I don't know, you have to compartmentalize that from the rest of your normal conversation, you know?
Well, and it's so funny.
You should be able to wear it on your sleeve, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and I posted this meme a few years ago, actually, I think now. And it's like the anglerfish from Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
And I posted it, and when I posted it at the time, I said, like, the anglerfish was my cosplay, and, like, the fish that it was getting ready to eat were
libertarian memes or something like that.
my followers who follow me for politics. But really, it's the other way around. Like, most of my Twitter followers tell me, they're like, I mean, I followed you for your politics, and I think cosplay's weird, but, like, it's cool. Like, I'm cool with it.
That's exactly it. Well, the thing is, especially the political stance you take, it's kind of a live and let live stance anyway. So I doubt you're going to have anyone. And if you do have a problem with someone, all you're doing is separating chaff from wheat anyway. It's like, if cosplay is the deciding factor for you to follow me, unfollow me. Move on.
Right. Well,
go move on to another account, whatever. It's like.
I have other. That's what's so funny when the rare occasion is when someone either criticizes me for my costumes or my politics on Twitter, I'm like, here's this specific page where you can just look at this thing that you wanted. It's not like I don't have that. Right. Like, so.
I understand the conundrum you're having, and I've already created a solution here.
Yeah.
You don't need to make a bigger stink about it, but.
Yeah, because, I mean, there's people, like, I follow, that's why I think it's funny when people, I've been accused of, like, creating an echo chamber for myself, but, like, the community that
I think anyone can be accused of that, first off.
Right. But it's especially funny with me because I'm a cosplayer, and if you, like, aren't into it, I understand these people don't know, but it's so heavily leftist, and I do follow all these cosplayers that I love, that I look up to for costuming, are heavily leftist. So I'm seeing that stuff on my feed of them, like, reading about Trump and complaining about mansplaining and all this stuff. So it's impossible because of the hobby that I'm in to be insulated from that. So it's
Well,
always
what I
hilarious.
find, YouTubers in general, like I'm watching YouTube videos other YouTubers make on how to do certain things. I find that community is also very leftist, but I find leftists are very trendy people. They follow a trend, and so YouTubing, cosplaying, any of these things themselves are trends themselves. So obviously you're going to have trendy people doing these trends that you find yourself in. And it's weird because I find the same issues, but I remind myself it's like, I am the outlier. I'm the person that's not part of the majority of this. And it's like, that doesn't dissuade me from doing it. It just means it's like, someone's going to do this eventually and they're going to watch me do it. And then they're going to be better because they saw someone else has done it, It might be kind of a sanctimonious stance to take, but it's like someone's got to figure this shit out eventually, right?
Well, and I mean, people do take it as like a sanctimonious, like self-righteous thing.
Yeah.
But I legitimately have like European costumers that I'm friends with on my personal Facebook message me and be like, hey, I saw your Twitter. I really wish I could talk about this stuff in my community, but I can't. So I'm glad that you are. So
really,
other people can just piss off, really, as far as I'm concerned, because I do have people legitimately message me and thank me because they're getting a little bit braver with their circle of friends and challenging them on some stuff. So if I can do that for a few people, I really don't care.
I mean, if you're getting people international, you're better than me. I've had a few people say, hey, like, I see you're taking some flack. Like, I kind of get what you're saying. I'm like, well, you can say that out loud. Right. This is America.
That's the only thing is the only thing that's unfortunate about it is I wish that when people emailed or privately messaged me, I'm like, just do it. Like,
yeah.
It's not gonna hurt. I promise.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm the type of person, if I'm gonna I don't want friends or a circle or even followers, to be honest, on social media that are gonna attack me just because I tweeted something that they don't like. So that's why it doesn't.
You mean like you don't want them to stay around? Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I get you.
Like if they are the type of person that's gonna attack me or unfriend me on Facebook or something because of some trivial political opinion that we disagree on, then I don't want you following me anyway.
I've been doing that for years before I migrated to Twitter. My Facebook, I've salted a good bit of earth there. So
yeah, it's not even like I go out of my way on purpose to do it, but if it happens, it happens, and it's not. I don't consider that a loss.
Well, I'll put it to you this way: on my Facebook, I don't care so much anymore that my current cover photo is still the poster for Hoaxed, the Cernovich doc. Yeah. I just think it'd be a better world if everyone's at least seen that documentary. So it's my cover photo, and I don't know, maybe everything they told you is a lie is a little maybe provocative for a Facebook cover photo, but you know what? I think it's a good doc. My goal is for you to click on it and look into it and learn a little more about it. And it is Alice in Wonderland. I'm trying to get you to go down the rabbit hole. And I've had people like, why do you do stuff like that? I'm like, lulz, entertainment,
and my dad,
growth.
Even before I was political, I came from a family that we don't shy away from, I don't want to say conflict, but we're raised as to be strong people. We're not raised to be like, okay, never mind, I won't talk about that. And neither of my parents talk politics with us. That's just the kind of personalities that they have. So my grandpa, my dad's dad, who passed away years ago, he passed on this phrase to my dad, which I've heard it from other people before. I know people say it. It's just believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. So I kind of walked through life with that. I think skepticism, a certain level of skepticism is healthy. And I think, especially in the age of social media, all these deep fakes that are coming out of
it's
people.
Getting bad.
And right now, they're funny ones, oh, look, it's Jim Carrey's face on a woman, and all this stuff. I think it's funny now.
It's funny you mentioned Jim Carrey in particular, though, because they did a deep fake, The Shining I told you about. Yeah. They did the most famous Jack Nicholson scene where he when he finally just goes over the top, and they had Jim Carrey deep faked on it. And I'm sorry, but to have Jim Carrey be the creepiest Jack Nicholson, it was worse.
Oh no.
Like, did you see the Cable Guy where he kind of tried to go horror? It's the only time Jim Carrey really tried to do a horror movie, and it was like a horror comedy.
Oh God.
Yeah, like it was creepy. I'll try to find it and tweet it later, but it was. And there's a lot of deep fakes too. It's like we're just scraping the surface. It's like think of how many ideas, combinations, like Jim Carrey. It's almost like a roulette wheel of combinations you could have. There's so many old movies you can have, new actors, or people can do themselves to be in scenes now.
Yeah, yeah. And there's actually a story came out of this girl, and she was an adult film actress.
Oh, jeez.
And she did Selena Gomez lookalike stuff, and someone was shopping her face onto like a bunch of other videos, which, you know, since she's already an adult film actress, it's like, okay, no big deal, but she wasn't getting paid for that work because people were just making deep fakes of it, and she had no idea until, I guess, somebody shared a video or something, and she's like, whoa, I didn't do that, and like all this.
That's got to be a surreal realization to make, too.
Yeah, to see your own face on it, like to know personally, like, okay, because she obviously knew it was fake, but everybody else who saw it probably thought it was real. Yeah,
and they're probably making money off that too.
Oh yeah, a lot of money.
That's to me where it's really like you cross the line. Like, I mean, if you're doing it for like if you had to use stock footage of me for like a school project, fine, whatever, I don't care. But if you're gonna try to make money off it, you get money me now.
Yeah, right. There's going to be all sorts of implications with it. It's going to be kind of scary to see where it goes.
Well, and I think the crazy thing is, it's like, to go back to the whole leftist side thing, I think their answer a lot of times when you swing left is more stringent censorship, more stringent watching, more stringent rules. It's like, I don't think that's the answer at all. I think it's open it up. Like, realistically, I think like the whole LimeWire, Pirate Bay generation reminds us that once everyone has everything, it kind of just evens the playing field out. It's like not everyone's going to pirate and stream. Obviously, there's still a market. I think the funny thing was all those articles that came out, it's like, oh, piracy, it's going to destroy the industry. It didn't destroy the industry. There's still plenty of people that pay for music, pay for DVDs, all that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, and I mean,
open source software is kind of the direction things are going, is all I mean. Like, open source entertainment is yet to be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's still artists that I will go out and, like, I have Spotify and stuff, and a lot of those streaming companies are really shitty about giving artists a cut, and they don't probably give them what they should. So I'll go out and if I really like a band, I'll buy the CD, or I'll go see them at a show if they come anywhere near me. I have no problem doing that. Yep. And I feel like that's how most people are if you, like, genuinely enjoy the art, so...
Well, I think local art is also something that doesn't get enough. Like going to see like a band locally and like paying to go see a band. Like everyone would rather be listening to. Well, not everyone. I'm really generalizing. I gotta take a step back there. A lot of people like to go to the international recognized groups because it's familiarity, and probably they're good. But the other thing is like I like going and listening to a local band kind of mess up a little bit, just hear the human side of things. And realistically, they're the ones that if you're going to pay $10 for like a CD for it, that $10 goes to that band. That goes further. Like they can try to maybe go on a tour now, and they can maybe do a little bit more than they were trying to. While when you're having $10 to say U2, who knows where that money's going? It's like I just picked a random band, but it's weird for me.
Well, I think what people don't realize is, like, investing in local businesses and bands and anything like that, every internationally or nationally known band started out as a band playing in a bar or wherever. Yep. Like, who the hell are these guys?
Yep. I love hearing those stories, too, about the first big break for famous bands. They're always great stories.
Yeah, like, apparently, I went to see a movie came out about Rush, and it just kind of went over their whole careers. Their first gig was in a high school gym.
I don't doubt that.
At a prom. Like, Rush played a prom. Like, that was their first, like, real gig, was they played it at some gym in Canada somewhere at a prom.
I could totally see that. And that, I'd be like, those are the humble beginnings that, like, Well, and then, I don't know, when you start cohesively as a band, like, that humble, I think that's kind of what keeps you together longer. It's those bands that form once they have a bunch of famous people that always fall apart. So those are just doomed to fail.
And yeah.
But I don't know. We're going down some interesting tangents, but I'm not complaining. Next question, actually, is in a post-apocalyptic or collapse setting, what is the one item you would wish to conjure to make life easier for you?
See, I didn't think about this one either. And this is probably one I probably should have
I'm getting better at wording the questions to not be as wordy as I used to. Because originally it was a weapon, but then I didn't want to be so militant in my line of questioning.
I would bring like old school, like where you used to have to go on road trips, those maps that like detail roads, rivers, like landmarks and stuff like that. So like a world atlas type like map thing, I think would be really good.
But like for the
know terrain and stuff like that, know how to navigate around and find.
How detailed are you talking? Because I mean, is it gonna be heavy? Is it gonna be?
No, I just mean like just like rivers and mountains and like basic terrain kind of stuff.
Okay, but like for your local area, for like the country.
Yeah, probably just the United States.
Fair, interesting.
Because I mean, if you like look at the United States, it's probably actually. Well, I don't want to dox myself, but I live close to a city.
I dox myself all the time.
I live close to a city that was like rated the #1 place to survive a zombie apocalypse, just
really?
Because of like where it's placed in the United States and like the terrain around it.
Yeah.
So in the United States in general, like the climate and where we are and how our country is shaped, I feel like it's
almost a fortress.
Yeah.
Between the Appalachians and the Rockies, it's like the East Coast might fall, but have you seen tangent? Have you seen the show Man in the High Castle? It's a Amazon show based off a book.
I have seen probably 4 episodes of it, and then I didn't have Amazon Prime. But now I do have Amazon Prime, so I've been meaning to finish the series.
Very well made. Yeah, very well made. I haven't finished it myself, actually. I only watched as many seasons as they had out at the time, and I haven't gone back since, like a year ago. But
I remember really
the world building they did. I love history. I love good writing and world building. The world building they made just in that short amount of time was crazy. Like they had the Japanese had kind of taken up to the Rockies, and then the Rockies in the Midwest, like the not Midwest, the out west. That was all just like a neutral zone because no one was really there. And then like the Nazis occupied everything east, and like I actually like kind of pictured it. Like I pictured what a Nazi and Imperial Japan occupation in the United States would look like.
Yeah.
But it's like I have a hard time picturing that anymore.
Yeah, I don't.
Even like Red Dawn kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't think you can get invaded at this point.
No, and the funny thing is, I this is kind of a weird segue. But, I mean, whatever. The whole Second Amendment thing is, it's like, it's for our protection. It's not like, even, people always go, it's to protect you from the government. It's like, how about from there just being too many people of a different... let's not even get into the neighbor conversation, because then everyone goes, oh, but they have a gun, they're going to kill me now. It's like, okay, well, I have to defend against you because you're the crazy one who doesn't have a gun.
It's like, don't be crazy then.
Right. You know, it's a weird place, but the whole point is it's like I forget the ratio of weapons per people we have in the country. It's insane compared to all over the world. Like, we are the most well-armed country in human history. You
couldn't confiscate. It's impossible to confiscate every single weapon.
Did you hear Beto in a town hall? They were asking him about... That's the funniest thing.
I'm going to take your AR-15. Beto, I hope you show up personally, because I could beat you in an arm wrestling match. I won't even need anything else.
Well, and actually, I just saw this week, he went to a town hall, and there's a woman from that town, and they were trying to kick her out, because she was trying to ask him questions. I forget, they weren't about the Second Amendment. It was about something else.
Oh.
But she was like, Beto, answer my questions, debate me. It was like a day or two ago. I looked, because they're trying to kick her out, and she's like, no, he's not from here. I'm from here. I want to know, what are you going to do in my town? And they're like trying to get rid of her. She's like, no, I'm from here. I grew up here. He's the one who's not from here.
Good for her.
Oh my god, she was sassy mom. I don't know if it was a PTA meeting or something, but I was all for her.
Deal with the Karens of the world, Beto.
She wasn't even a Karen. She looked like that cool, I don't know. She looked like a cool mom who's just like, I had enough. I mean, trust me, as a server, I've dealt with my fair share of Karens. I would have served her.
I wouldn't want to deal with the moms of this world. That's put it that way. I could not. Mm-mm.
Yeah. There's some wonderful moms and there's also some monster moms.
Well, like in a good way though. Like that's like the kind of mom I like to imagine. Like that if Beto showed up, my mom would.
Oh yeah.
My mom could definitely take Beto in a fight. We'll just put it that way. My mom would mop the floor with Beto O'Rourke.
This woman was just trying to get him to say something back. She like, I forgot what the question is now, but she's just like, debate me. You won't debate me, Beto. You won't say anything. And like I couldn't hear anything because like the camera was on her, so I couldn't tell if you say anything on microphone. But I'll see if I can find that too. I'm not writing any of this down. We'll see if I end up retweeting any of this. But so you said like a nice atlas of the country would be good.
Yeah, just for like
to know
basic landmarks and like the lay of the land when you're like traveling around.
Well, I think distance is also important, especially if you're trying to travel. Just knowing the distance, knowing what to avoid. Like, let's say the roads are out. You know, if you really want to go really bad post-apocalypse, for some reason the roads are now infested with. Now you got to stay off the roads. You're going to want to know the topography.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
And
so I think I would bring that. I mean, I could have said a weapon, but
yeah, that's kind of the basic answer I was looking for when I made the question.
I just think on a practical basis, like you could, if you have survival skills, you could technically make a weapon out of a lot of things, but to get around, especially if you're going to need to move from the area you grew up in or even out of your region, you're not going to know where the hell you're going, and it's going to make it so much more difficult. So
well, my answer was actually an old school Japanese katana, because like you said, you can make your own weapon.
Yeah.
That the steel they bend is like so strong, you can like use it to like cut other steel. Like you could use that as a weapon, and you could use just the sharpness of the blade for anything else.
It'll be multi-purpose.
It's complete multi-purpose. Yeah. Well, I mean, I told you, I was like, Japanese culture to me, like the level of practicality to all the decision making and their like philosophy, not only just the circumstances of their history too. They kind of just chilled out on an island by themselves until everyone was going on boats all the time, essentially.
Yeah. Yep.
But
yeah, they're everything's efficient, like down to toothpicks.
I believe that. I mean, they think of everything for everyone because they have to.
It's insane. Like I'm like I wouldn't even have thought that this was like when I was there. I had a corn dog.
I've never been there. I've just heard about it. A lot of people have been there.
And this is like an example of something super small that I would never think of. We might have these in the United States. I haven't seen them here, so maybe it's just because I'm in the middle of nowhere in the Midwest.
Same.
They had dual purpose ketchup and mustard packets, and when you broke the packet open over your corn dog, it would swirl it like you see in the movies together in this little tiny package, and it was so efficient, and it would just do it. It was like just enough, and it would just swirl it perfectly, like you see, like sitting in like a store window, and it was just like really weird. I'm like, why would you make a packet specifically for corn dogs and hot dogs? It was crazy. I was like, another tiny thing that I wouldn't even have thought to invent, but there it is.
One of the most ingenious things I learned the Japanese did was actually the jingles for their subway system. I watched like a quick documentary on it. Mm-hmm. It was so wild that like the guy who did it, he like had a little jingle for each stop, so people wouldn't even need to look. You just heard, and you'd know like I'm at the Kyoto stop. I don't know, whatever.
And my husband didn't even notice that while we were there.
Oh, that's something I would have been looking out for.
I noticed it like immediately because they're like short little, and I'm like, oh my god, because I didn't know that before I went there. I'm like, every stop has a different song to it. And he's like, no, they don't. I'm like, listen at the next stop, and then the next stop after that. He listens. He's like, holy shit, like they do. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I could probably, I'm going to hear the Shibuya one in my freaking dreams because it's like we went to that giant Shibuya, like famous Shibuya crossing, and every time they cross the street, that jingle would go on because it's right by the subway station.
So you'd hear it.
We heard it like 40 times in an hour, and I'm like, okay, I understand. So they're crossing, like, but it's a really good idea.
Yeah, and apparently, like, the people are, like, proud of the ones they stop at on their daily commute. That, I don't know if this was an extension. This is actually more of a question for you. In the documentary, they made it seem like when people are all going to work, they would, like, have a little cheer at the end of their stops. That seemed like a stretch to me, but I could definitely see a Japanese doing that. Did you ever see, like, anyone, like, having their own little flair at the end of it or anything?
No.
Okay, good. I thought that might have been a bridge too far, but it would have been totally cute for the Japanese to do something like that.
No, but to be fair, we went kind of in the middle of the day. We went to a restaurant once, or we were like on our way home when everybody's like completely exhausted from working. So
I asked because like I did the Chicago rush hour commute, and it was some of the most miserable.
Yeah.
Face to face. Yeah, on the L, that was not fun. But I could totally see the Japanese like looking at that as an opportunity to like bond, because that's like what they do. They're like, oh, if we're gonna be this close to each other, might as well make it great. Yeah, Gambate, right?
Talks on the trains though, so like they're dead silent.
Really?
It's considered really rude to like talk on your cell phone, or it's totally different than American transportation systems.
Yeah.
They aren't loud, obnoxious, and they don't catch on fire randomly. So, as far as I know, while we were there, they didn't. Oh, yeah. But yeah, it's dead silent. Actually, all of Tokyo was really, really quiet, and it was actually to the point my husband and I were like, "This is creepy. Like, why is it so quiet here?" But then when you got used to it, it was like calming and relaxing. You're like, "Hey, it's really nice. People aren't just screaming at each other across the street, having a conversation, or on their cell phone constantly." So,
well, that's the big cities in America for you.
Yeah, well, in Tokyo, I think it's this comparably the size of LA County, but Tokyo. It's like quintuple the people, but it's way quieter.
I think I looked it up because it always blows me away how many people are in Japan. I think they said that there's more people in Japan than California, and California's like, it's larger.
Yeah.
I don't know how much, but it's like the amount of people packed into Japan is insane.
It's 20-something million just in Tokyo.
It's insane.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
Speaking of places with high population levels, I'd just like to say Hong Kong also has one. We don't need to get into that right now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, did you see? I don't know if you follow it all. Did you see what's happening with BlizzCon?
Oh, yeah. That's why I'm back to listening to my boy Quartering. Yeah. He does a good job of reporting on it. Because I don't like doing the digging.
Currently, there are live streamers wearing Winnie the Pooh costumes.
I've heard.
They're everywhere. I love it. I'm living for it.
Well, I love the fact that Winnie the Pooh has also brought back the smug Winnie the Pooh meme itself. It's like a resurrection for that meme gets to come back.
I actually saw Hong Kong protesters while I was in Japan.
Did you?
Yeah.
And how are the Japanese with that? I'm curious.
Oh, the Japanese do not like the Chinese.
I know they don't. That's why I was wondering how they would be about Hong Kong activists.
They were pro-protesters.
Pro-protesters.
That I saw. And they were wearing, like, masks with the president, or whatever he is. He's the dictator of China, whatever. Yeah. His face. And then they were wearing, like, Winnie the Pooh onesies and holding a sign. The sign said... What did it say? Something about genocide. Like, it was hardcore, like, stop genociding us or whatever. And I was like, whoa! And it was, like, in the middle of this just really crowded. It was actually during their Halloween celebration. So that's what these people dressed up as Halloween for. And they were wearing masks and stuff. So you really couldn't see their face, but... You
were there for Halloween celebrations?
Yeah.
How long? You said you got back Monday?
Yeah, well, they had like
the week before
Halloween events throughout the week before we left because it was getting closer.
I thought you had gotten back. I thought it'd been more time since you got back. Just in my head.
No, we just got back Monday. Yeah.
Dang. Well, it's cool to have you on so soon.
Yeah, it's fresh.
And you said you're still having a hard time getting acclimated to the sleep schedule?
I don't know. I never really switched over to Japan time while we were there, and now that
And now
I'm
you're
back,
switched. That you're back.
I'm like, we've been getting up at like 3 or 4 every morning, just
Okay.
waking up. Because we've been passing out at like 7 or 8 at night because we're so tired by the time we get home from work because we're not used
Yeah,
to the time change over there.
I can
So,
imagine. So, like, what time would it be for you now in Japan if you're still there? Do you
let's
know?
see.
I mean, I could do it. I don't know if you had the mental math in your head.
Now I have a clock on my phone still from Tokyo.
Oh, okay. Then I'm not gonna.
It's 3:48 a.m. in Tokyo. They're 14 hours ahead of us.
Damn.
Yeah, so
So this is when you'd be sleeping right now.
yeah, it feels like 4 a.m. right now for me, which I
Oh,
mean, I'm
jeez.
just forcing myself to stay up and hoping that I can just stay up later and later every night and just acclimate to the time change again.
All
And
right.
now I heard that daylight savings time is this weekend.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be all
I
screwed
mean,
up. I mean, we gain an hour, but it's still gonna mess me
the
up.
trick or treaters last night, it was like pitch black before 7 o'clock,
I know.
and we got snow here. I don't know. I don't know if you got
We
snow.
we got flurries yesterday morning. And it was
Okay.
like 33 outside last night.
There was
frosty.
accumulation when I got up this morning, but it looks like it all melted.
Yeah, we didn't have any accumulation, but we're supposed to get some this weekend. So
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. I was making jokes to my friends. I was like, all those people who had all the, well, as soon as Halloween's over, I'm getting ready for Christmas. I'm like, you people are why we have this right now.
I hate it. And I have a December birthday, so I really hate those people.
I have a June birthday. I love fall. Like, fall is my favorite season. And to be losing out on it this soon, I was hoping for a full November worth of fall still, hopefully.
I like Thanksgiving. It's my favorite
Yes.
holiday. I like food. I like ham, turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing. I don't care. I'll eat it. I just love Thanksgiving. And like Christmas to me I mean, Thanksgiving's commercialized too because of Black Friday. But like the atmosphere around families, like at least my family around Christmas, everybody's tense and like trying to get together and get gifts for everybody and like all the stuff. And there's just not this like, it's
Well,
just such,
and
so
Thanksgiving
much
is like one of the first school long holidays too. I'm the
Yeah.
oldest of my entire family, so majority of my cousins and therefore my aunts and uncles are in school mode. So like Thanksgiving in general, my father's a teacher. Like the whole family, Thanksgiving, like I'm just agreeing with you that like the whole pacing of my family, Thanksgiving is like the first time we can all collectively go,
Right. I really like
you know.
good, like yeah. So I love Thanksgiving.
But you're right, Christmas can almost be too stressful. It's like
Oh my,
there's so much.
I've never been like a gift person either, which this sounds so like I'm not like other girl. But I don't like I don't know. I've always like my family was not like super wealthy growing up, so it always made me uncomfortable like to give my parents a list of things that I wanted.
Oh
So I'd
yeah.
always say like 1 or 2 things that weren't expensive. So like I don't like showering people with gifts. I just
Yeah.
like spending time with people, and that's what I think the holidays.
Oh, you
That's
took
what I
you took the words right out of my mouth. I
Yeah.
mean,
I
it's like
just
I don't expect much, but I don't really give like I also my thing is like if you need something and I can get it for you, I'll get it for you like when you ask for it. Like I don't care if it's April or like
right. I'm the kind of person like if someone mentions like
I forget.
I need some headphones or something, I just get it. And I'm like just like and if they're like, oh, you don't have to do that, I'm just like just count it as a Christmas present or something. Like
That's me. Yeah, I'm the same way. Same way.
I
I
hate this pressure around like, getting
well,
big gifts for people around Christmas. I'm like, first of all, I'm Christian, so that's not what that's supposed to be about anyway.
yeah, that's
But
true.
it's just silliness. So I like the spiritual side of it. Now people are
Yeah.
gonna watch this and be like, she's a Christian and she hates Christmas. I'm like, no, that's not. I just
I
don't like the commercialization of it.
I just like like you said, the season of spending more time with family, kind of taking time for. I mean, when you look at the maybe secular side of the Christian celebration, it's
Yeah.
still a time of gratitude, charity,
Yeah.
you know, It's, I mean, something that even if you're a completely secular person, and this is the funny thing is they're like so the whole war on Christmas thing is it's
It
like
makes no sense.
it doesn't. It's like a grandma coming to give you cookies, and you're like, "Fuck you, grandma! I hate you." It's like, well, what's your problem? She's coming to give you a hug and warm cookies.
Who doesn't like sugar cookies with frosting on them?
Right? You know.
Like, okay.
I'm actually lactose intolerant. Get those away from me.
Oh no, that's like my worst fear.
No, my sister does. I don't.
I'm not lactose intolerant. I would probably be one of those people that just ate ice cream and stuff anyway and just got sick afterwards because I just can't. I couldn't do it.
My sister's lactose intolerant, and I literally made breakfast for us this morning, and unthinkingly, I just put cheese and milk in it. And then, like, afterwards, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I just cheese. I think it's better with cheese. And she's like, oh, I already took my pill. You're right. It's better with cheese. I was like, oh, thank God. Like, I forget. Like, it's my own sister. And, like, I just cook and I don't even think. But she just eats it anyway, too.
One of the things in Japan, like Asians are like, I didn't know like white people are like, now I understand why they think it's racist. I didn't know that like lactose intolerance wasn't a white people thing because like a few of my friends were lactose intolerant as a kid, so I didn't realize that like minorities and stuff like have a higher rate of lactose intolerance. So when I was in Japan,
which minority do you refer to though? Like, I'll let you get to me. Sorry.
Asians.
They have a high level of lactose intolerance.
Really, milk is the third most common allergen in Japan.
Really?
Like, allergic to milk. Yes.
Interesting.
So they have milk, and it was funny. I was complaining about it on Twitter, and so I was like, "Why are you complaining? You're in Japan." I'm like, "I don't think you people understand. I drink like a gallon and a half of milk. Like me and my husband just by ourselves. Like
wait. Do me a favor. You are Midwestern. Say milk one more time.
Milk?
Yeah, you do the Midwest thing that I try to avoid.
Milk.
You kind of do the milk. Milk. We talked about this last time.
Oh, and I say pillow sometimes.
Yeah, that's a Midwest thing.
Yeah, talking like a child. That's
not to take the wind out of your sails. I apologize. I just happened to notice again. But actually, I drink a lot of milk. I normally have cereal every morning, and I have that with my 2% milk, not skim white water. White water does not do anything for anyone. You might as well have water, or you might as well not have milk. There's no, like, it's the weirdest in between.
It's gross, and it was so funny. Like years ago, the doctor told my mom that skim is healthier. My dad and I refused to switch to skim.
Good.
We were like, we need 2%. So growing up, my brother and my mom drank skim because they didn't care, and my dad and I drank 2%, and it's still that way. I mean, now that I have my own house, it's only 2%.
That's
my husband doesn't care; he'll drink anything. He's like, "There's no difference." I'm like,
give him whole one of those times and see what he says.
Oh no, whole milk is gross. We agree on that.
Really? Oh, I would go whole if I didn't hate myself.
No,
it's a luxury to get whole for me.
Well, I would gain way too much weight if I was drinking.
That's why I don't do it. I like whole milk. It's so rich. That's the thing is, like, I'll put it this way. I will enjoy a nice whole milk with apple pie on Thanksgiving.
Okay, that's fair.
I will buy whole milk for myself during the Festivus season.
Yeah. Yeah, but I didn't know that the lactose intolerant thing was like a huge thing in Asia, I guess. A lot
I didn't know that either.
Lactose intolerant. So I'm like, I posted about it on Twitter, and someone like made a joke about like, you know, white supremacy or something like that. I'm like, no, I just really like milk. I don't understand. Like, I'm not trying to, you know.
It's funnier. There's a guy I talked to earlier this year, and he was talking about the idea of racial realism. And it was a weird concept that I still don't really grasp. But one of the things he was saying is it's like, we come from different offshoots of human. Like, if you just look at us like culturally, we ate different foods. Our ancestors ate different foods. And it's like, why is it racist to just admit that our bodies are structured subtly different and might not process things the same way? They're not the same pH, not the same whatever, you know.
Well, there's like diseases and stuff that are more common for white people or more common for other, you know.
And how is that racist? That's just that's one of the concepts he brought up. Is it's just racial realism, that being just real about the history of who we are. It's like,
yeah. Well, and I think because when you go that,
like when you say the lactose thing in Japan, it's like,
yeah, like that's.
There's no conspiracy theory there.
They're horrible because they can't drink milk. It's just me being like, wow, I really wish I had a glass of milk with this chocolate bar that I have. Like,
yeah, that's what just goes good together, you know. Like if I have a really rich brownie, I'm gonna want some milk with it. I'm just
No,
saying.
it's like they have it. I'm like, okay, yeah, I know they have it, but I can't read Japanese, and it's not in
Yeah,
cartons.
and I
So
think
it's weird.
places
So
where
I
they have
have to like
lactose.
milk.
I was gonna say a lot of places where they have lactose issues, they'll do powdered milks and things like that. They're different. Yeah, I know.
That's not
When
milk.
I was in Venezuela, they had powdered milk there. That
That's
I
probably
don't.
what it was.
Yeah, I hated drinking powdered milk when I was there, but I liked milk, and I actually eventually just stopped drinking the powdered milk because it was too nasty.
Yeah, ooh, gross. That's like the powdered cheese that comes in Kraft mac and cheese. That's not cool.
Yeah, that's not so great, but I make it work with some real butter.
Yeah, that's true. If you add butter to it, it's not as bad.
Yeah,
But you can't really add butter to milk to make it taste better.
butter. Yeah, I guess so. All right. Well, we got 2 questions left. Actually, we've put some time in. We haven't even got the questions out of the way. I haven't seen anything on Discord, and I'm kind of checking. So I don't know if the Discord server is working or not, but I'm not seeing any questions or anything. So we're good for now. I don't know how long you had. We're about an hour right now, just to keep you posted.
Oh, I'm free.
Okay. Cool.
However long, I mean, you want to go is fine with me.
That's it. I mean, it's as long as it's a good conversation, I'll keep it going. So, what is one simple lesson you would want everyone in the world to have to learn? And you don't have to. It doesn't have to be like an experience, but it's like one principle you'd wish people would have to like undertake one time in their life.
This is easy. And I feel like people should already learn this as kids because I know I did. But I feel like in the age of like public schooling and like parents aren't like directly involved with their children as much anymore. Schools don't really teach it, and like so people just don't get taught it. And it's just like the basic concept of just being personally responsible for yourself and
Yes.
what you do.
Yeah.
It's the amount of problems in the world or just things that could be improved in general that would be solved by everybody just understanding if you make a decision and it results in something else, you need to take responsibility for it, you know.
I was gonna say self accountability.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
just being accountable. Yeah,
Yeah, accountable for your own.
things you do and the decisions you make. Like so many things would just be like, instead of a fight, it would be, oh, okay, you're right. My bad. You know, I did do that wrong, or I did make that decision. It affected you that way. Sorry.
Well, I mean, realistically, I understand like being in that like I don't know, anxiety used to be an issue for me, and one of the things that I resolved it with was going to extreme lengths to just be like, I would overthink about something and be like, oh, why did this go wrong, why did it not go the way I wanted it to go? And I just started learning, just because you didn't do something right, I just like would tell myself that in my head. I'm just like, okay, that's enough to tie up that loose end.
Yeah.
It's like maybe I could have done something better. It's like if you just I was gonna say, if you just trick yourself to do that, it sounds like it might add more of a burden, but I found it actually kind of eases the burden of like trying to get an answer for every little thing.
Well, and I feel like a lot of people who are the type that need to be in control all the time. Something that would help that is to take personal responsibility for things that they are doing, and that would teach them, okay, well, I did this, so that means if something else happened and it's out of my control and I'm feeling anxiety about it, that's because they did something.
Exactly.
That's just how this works.
And understanding that, yeah.
You understand how things are working instead of overthinking everything and saying, okay, well, what could I have done?
Yeah.
Like, on the same token, there's things you need to take personal responsibility for. And there are legitimately some things where you can look and be like, that was out of my control. There was a car crash that I called in that somebody else did it and I just got caught up in it. Or
there's no amount of preparation I could have had which would have changed the outcome. It's kind of, that's the way I look at it, things like that.
Yeah, it's being like at peace. I feel like personal responsibility and accountability would just help people in general not be as anxious and just be at peace with the way things are and not try to constantly looking for somebody to blame. You could just sit there and explain to yourself, oh, yeah, okay, that's fair. That was on me. My bad. Like, if people could just do that with each other, even like start with yourself, then do that with each other, then it'd be fine.
It's like the two chipmunks from I don't know if it was in Looney Tunes, the two brothers who's like they're so polite that they could never get anything done. They're like, no, you first.
Chip and Dale?
No, Chip and Dale were different. Chip and Dale were like Chippendale might have been based off of these guys, but this was like they were in Bugs Bunny. Oh no, they were groundhogs. Maybe they weren't chipmunks because they always went into the hole, and they'd be like, "No, you first," and like they're about to get like eaten, and they're like, "Let's do it together, let's," and then they both jump in at the same time, just in time to not get attacked by whatever. Yeah. But it's like they would wait. They like couldn't. They're like, no, you first. No. I insist. It's all you. You're fine. It's like it'd be better if the world were a little more like that. If we were like in gridlock because everyone's like, no, it's my fault. No, my bad. I'd rather deal with that than screw you, man. It's all you. It's all you. It's all you. You know.
Yeah, and that's not to bring it back to Japan, but that's one of the things I liked about Japan.
That's what it sounds like.
They're not. They will do anything to avoid outward conflict with people.
Right.
So even if you're the person that screwed up because you're a stupid American and you jumped on the wrong train, they'll be like, "Oh no, it's fine." And
isn't that very classical conservatism though? That's like it's social conservatism at its core.
Yeah, it's also just like like
conserving energy in the moment. I'm not talking about any ideologies, philosophy. I'm just talking about like the way you carry yourself. You're like a minimalist, almost.
Yeah, very minimalist and very keeping everything going. So they don't want to do anything that's gonna make
disrupt
or slow anything down or make someone else uncomfortable. Because then you've got this odd, weird space of time where you just kind of look at each other and don't understand what's going on or. It's very anti that, that's one of the reasons it was so peaceful over there.
And to me,
if I make someone mad, they're not going to say anything to me because
exactly. It seems like it's a very empathetic culture that they like all understand that they all don't want to make life harder on any of them. Everyone's just like very homogenous. That was the word I used when I was commenting on that Japanese. Was that in Japan? The video of the guy at the Starbucks.
Yes.
Like. They don't deserve that kind of foreigner.
That Japanese woman working at the Starbucks, it's so sad because I was there when that video happened.
Yeah.
I wasn't at
You weren't at this, yeah. But you were in Japan while it happened.
Yeah. So
he could have been on your flight, you don't know.
I understand the cultural context of what was going on.
Yeah.
And you could tell she was very politely trying. I'm sure it was in Japanese, so you probably didn't know what she was saying, but you could tell.
Did you listen to the police in the full video?
Please leave, And that's why, and you could tell when the guy who spoke English stepped in and said, "Sir, she's asking you to leave." She looked at him and was like, "Oh, thank you so much," because you could tell she didn't want to make any trouble. She was just trying to be polite, and
that's it. It's gratitude in the face of. No. She was still being gracious in her. Like that man had slighted her. He had insulted her. He was completely over the line, and she's still taking the high road.
And that made me so bad. I'm like, okay, dude, if this was America and your waitress came up and real sassy was like, "Sir, you need to leave. You're being a loud asshole," and then you reacted like that, it would still be horrible, but it wouldn't be as bad.
Right.
But the fact that you're in Japan, the society that will literally step out of the way, even if you're in the wrong, to make sure you're comfortable.
And they will bow to you and say,
right. It made me so mad. I'm like, if this was any other country, I'd be like, okay, dude, whatever. You're right. They were probably being mean to you. Or
did you listen to the conversation he had with the cop, though? That you were saying, because the cop spoke English.
They said, "Please leave." The police. I'm like, if this was America, this dude would be on the ground in handcuffs getting tased.
At best. At best. Like, who knows? Like, I don't know what kind of entitlement he thought he could get away with in Japan.
And the thing that somebody brought up, Japan has almost 100% conviction rate for all crimes.
Does it?
Yes. They're
interesting. That makes sense, though.
They can detain you for any reason. It's not like the United States. So this guy was especially idiotic. Because not only was he doing that in this society where they're polite and everything and they want to...
But when you cross the line as many times as he did, I'm sure...
what happened to him.
Yeah, I was about to say, I doubt his passport is the worst of his issues. His visa, whatever. Like, that's not... Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, they might... I don't know. I don't know what happened, but I'm like, dude...
I really don't care what happened to that guy, honestly, but... The moral of the story is Japanese people don't deserve idiots like that.
They deserve to be protected at all. This is what I'm saying. Like, they're very nice.
I still... As we're talking, this is me being the constant devil's advocate. As we're saying so many nice things about Japan, I still don't understand the whole weeb culture. That was one thing we talked about last time. I've learned a little more about it.
Yeah, me neither.
It's
People are like, wait, you possibly are weeb? And I'm like,
No.
I didn't go to Japan because I'm obsessed with the culture. Actually, my husband and I were talking, and we're like, it's not really as great as everybody made it out to be. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, this whole time I've been like, yeah, it was peaceful and all this. But there's this, I don't know how to explain it other than, and this is probably super rude after I just said, don't talk shit about Japanese people. It's, like, they work, like, so much that we saw people falling asleep standing up on the train.
I had heard that was an issue.
And, like...
And you saw it with your own eyes?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, like, and it was like salary men that like wear the suits and they go to their office jobs.
Yeah.
They just fall asleep on the train on their way home because they're so
exhausted
and they don't get paid for it. They're expected out of respect for the company to stay overtime and work really late and all this stuff.
Wow.
So, and then they live in those tiny, tiny little spaces.
Yeah.
And all this. You're working all these hours, you go home, you're in this tiny little box and, with your whole family. Like,
yeah.
Even if it's you, then imagine a whole family living in an apartment
That's so wild. Like,
it's crazy. Like, I understand why so many, like, they have such a high suicide rate. It's insane.
I know. I
get it because it's like they.
Oh, I heard about all these issues like over a year ago. Like the suicide rate, the overexertion, however you want to describe it, the lack of sleep, that caffeine has spiked a lot. Caffeine consumption has spiked there. Yeah. And that a lot of things, because the one thing about Japan is they're so homogenous that like a new trend hits them, their kind of viral is way more viral than our kind of viral.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're so homogenous, if something catches on and it makes sense to everyone does it.
The thing that was big while we were over there was mint flavored things. It's like a food thing.
Okay.
But it's a good example. And I love, like, mint chocolate chip ice cream is my favorite kind of ice cream and my husband's. And so while we were over there, everything was, like, mint chocolate chip flavored. I'm like, this is amazing. They love mint chocolate chip ice cream, too. I had it at Baskin Robbins. There was stuff flavored that way at gas stations. It was everywhere. And our friend that lives in Tokyo with his Japanese wife, he was like, no, that's just the latest trend. Oh, it just hit us a few months ago. It'll be over in a few weeks. And I'm like, what? That's insane to me that it just ignites and then it's there for a few months and then it's gone and they're on to the next thing.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
But I could see if you had like such a large population of people and like just logistically you couldn't have a lot of variety. You kind of just need to like bring a wave of things and hope everyone likes it.
Yep.
Like it's kind of, I think 240. I did actually this whole time I could have been looking up. I'm gonna say 240 million. Look, population of Japan. I need to know now, unless you know.
Of Japan, I know Tokyo is like 22 point something million. That's Tokyo.
I actually was close. I doubled it. It's 126 million. I said 240. Oh, that was in 2017. Who knows what it's at now?
It's been 2 years.
It really hasn't risen that much, apparently.
I mean, that's
and that's the thing I heard is apparently Japan's population is going down now, which is what they kind of need. But the issue they're having is they're losing their youth very quickly. Like people are staying alive and just not having kids.
Yep.
It's crazy. I mean, it like literally like in our lifetimes, I wonder what Japan will look like. You know, it's like will you have a bunch of migrants there because there's not a lot of native Japanese people anymore? I don't know. I literally just had that thought for the first time.
I don't think so.
No? I think they'll balance out their population again eventually once it makes sense.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right. Final question. This one's actually, it's an interesting one. Would you rather be the smartest person in the world in a world full of dumb people or the dumbest person in the world in a world full of smart people?
I'd rather be the dumbest person. That one's easy.
Yeah?
Because I already think I'm smarter than some people, and it's hell.
That's fair.
Sometimes I see things, and I'm like, there's a lot of things I don't know. Like, there's legitimately topics. People go, this is trending on Twitter. Why aren't you talking about it? I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm not just going to talk about it just because it's trending.
Yeah.
Like, this election and stuff, I haven't been following it. So people are like, what do you think about this Biden drama with Ukraine? I'm like, I have no idea what's going on, so I'm not going to pretend I know and comment about it. But the things that I do know about, when I see someone clearly who doesn't know what they're talking about, trying to talk about it just because it's trending, or it drives me nuts. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine being actually in a hypothetical situation the smartest person trying to explain to other people. And I love to share the things that I do know in like a polite way with people, but being the one smartest person and trying to explain it slowly to everyone else, I just credit to all the philosophers who tried to do it before, but I could not be that person.
Well, I would argue, and this is in the case that let's assume you are smarter than the average bear. If that's the case, almost archetypally, as Jung would say, you are walking in the footsteps of the old philosophers. You are,
yeah,
because like that knowledge is something that is constantly being like kept in existence. And whether people are reading about it or not, it's like if more people read about it, you wouldn't have to lecture about it. People would already have read it. They'd already know it. So the fact that you are sharing an idea that people don't know about, you're literally walking in the footsteps of whoever you're referring to, whether it be Plato, Socrates, any classical philosopher. And I mean, I haven't read a lot of them in a while. Realistically, I could stand to. I remember you told me about Mises. I haven't read any Mises, but I found that I really like people.
It's April. Get on it.
I know. I haven't. Well, I've been managing a restaurant like 5-6 nights a week. I just quit that, but I just haven't had time for much of anything. That's why I'm just trying to get back to this.
Yeah.
But I'd like to get back to reading. But that's the thing is, it's like, I know I've read it once, and I know how much of an effect it's had on me, and I haven't even read it recently. It's like, what if everyone has read it? Like, to go back to my fifth question, it's like, what if everyone did that a little more often? Was going back and it's like, well, I could watch another episode of Friends, or what if I, finally read the Iliad for the first time?
Yeah.
It's like when I read stuff like that, I'm not like, this is gonna shatter my like worldview, but I look at it, it's like other people did this. It's like this is part of like the path of knowledge that other people have walked. It's almost more traditional than it is like insightful.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of older philosophers and literature in general, not even just philosophy, that school ruined.
It did.
Like 1984.
Yeah.
I remember reading that in high school and being like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
This is stupid. And I own it now. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what my literature teacher was trying to explain to me. It's really the same thing with like Aristotle and Plato and all of those guys. Any from, honestly, Thomas Aquinas, like religious stuff too.
Yeah.
Like just reading it, you just think, oh, why? I remember hating this in college and high school when I read it. And now I can read it myself and understand it, and it's so much better.
The toughest philosophical book I ever had in a class was The Zen and Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Have you ever heard of that book?
No.
It's something.
It's something.
It's something. I don't want to even tell you anything to sway your opinion. If you ever have the time or interest to look into it, it's something. Because realistically, I didn't get a lot out of it while I read it. I get more out of it by like reading excerpts of it now and like learning that other people got something out of it, honestly. But It was one of the most miserable experiences with a book I had. But the more I look back on the people influenced, it's like it's actually a really good, influential book. But that being said, it's like if you can read it and be like, wow, I love it. I don't want to tell you I hated it.
No, I've never even heard of it, so.
Yeah, it's a wild one. It's essentially a story of a father and a son going on a motorcycle trip after the father had been doing these motorcycle trips for a while. So it goes into the father, the son, and then he always refers to his subconscious. And it comes from it's really weird writing. Like,
ooh,
give it a shot. It's really off the wall. It has nothing to do with motorcycles, really. It's more about the philosophy of maintaining what you own. And that's one, like, it takes that like literally as the physical items you have, but also like mentally.
Oh.
Yeah.
That sounds really interesting.
I'm surprised you hadn't heard of it, really. It was in my high school, so I've never not known it. I knew that it was coming because all the high schoolers complained about it ahead of me. So, but yeah. World full of that was the one thing I want to say. The world full of smart people. Because I actually had the same exact reply when I was coming up with these questions. My father gave me the response I'm about to give you, and actually I agree with him now. Because I thought the same thing. I would rather be the dumbest person in a world full of smart people, because I would want to not have to lecture, essentially. But my father, being a teacher, he reminded me, if you're not the lecturer, you're at the whim of the people that are quote unquote smarter than you. And for whatever that means, you have to take that as bond, because you are the dumbest person. You are being perpetually led around. And he told me, he's like, I don't care. I'm paraphrasing here, but it's like, I don't care how much I know, but if I have to keep sharing that, I'd rather do that than just take someone else for their word if I don't know them. You know what I mean? If every single person you run into, you have to take them at their word, and you don't know them well enough, that can be a very dangerous situation, very Orwellian.
That's kind of essentially what we're all doing every day, though.
That is. I mean,
like, I didn't personally discover a bunch of things, but like I learned about them, and I'm like, yep, sounds like it makes logical sense to me.
Well, so. And that's why I really have enjoyed getting on Twitter, is because like I feel like there's always someone, like, even if I'm like have a really busy day, I can see like someone's working out something really deep and important to them, and I can like maybe share some insight or just share some support. It's like, oh, that is a good idea, you know? But
yeah, that makes, I can see, one, I'm sure him being a teacher, he's like, no, listen, I am smart. And in a room full of dumb people,
he teaches geometry in a high school.
Oh god, I hate math so much.
Yeah, he's a geometry teacher, so I think
that was like my worst experience with math too, is geometry. Luckily, I was so bad at math that I was in the same class as my brother when we took geometry.
Oh, really?
Oh. He's very good at math, so he helped me out, which he probably hated, but...
That's an interesting circumstance, to be in the same class as your brother. I mean, yeah. I knew some people who had the same situation. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I always struggled with English. I couldn't, like, to me, the whole writing papers...
That's something I'm blessed with, and I hate it that that's my talent, because I haven't found a use for it yet. I don't want to be a journalist. I don't creatively write. I used to really like creative writing when I was really young and in grade school. Yeah. Into middle school, and all my teachers encouraged it, but I have too much factual stuff to learn about. My escape is kind of costuming now, not escaping into my own worlds. So, but I can write a pretty good essay, and I hate it. I hate doing it. I can do it. I'm very good at it. And I've done it for other people. Oh God, don't tell anybody. But I hate doing it. I always hated it. It's so monotonous, and I don't understand the point of it. But
no, well, I mean, I kind of understand that it's. I don't know. When you're thinking of teaching, it's you're proving your mastery over the material. That if you can. I
always got more out of classes. The classes that I loved in high school and college were the classes where you sit around in a Socratic circle and you talk the ideas out. And
oh yeah.
Like if more colleges and high schools did like oral exams where you answer the questions with your brain and think about it, I think I would have done way better in school and gotten a lot more out of all my schooling.
My biology teacher, actually, he did that. He had an amphitheater style. Actually, probably one of the better teachers. Both of the best teachers I've ever had were biology teachers. One of them was in high school, and he took us like out into nature to go look at things, and we would
cool.
Like while we could. Obviously, in the winter we did only a couple times, but he would take us out. In college, he did have the amphitheater, and we had to buy those little clickers, and we would take quizzes as part of the lecture. So if you were keeping up with the reading, we would get up to the points, and before he'd go into explaining something, he would ask a few questions. And then you'd get points, you'd get credit for having done the reading by answering the questions, and then he'd get into it to make sure the deeper level of learning had set in. He would make sure he's dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Explaining things, he had like his own drawings. I was like, if people did that, if they did it as part of a conversation, because he was always asking kids questions the whole time. It was a conversation, not a lecture, even though it was technically a lecture. It was all the ones who would just sit there and point at stuff. That to me, that's not teaching. That's just showing stuff.
The unfortunate thing is, I know at a lot of colleges, like one of the colleges I went to, they had a rule that your students had, because I had a really cool Greek literature professor in
Greek
college,
lit.
and I hated that class, not because he was a bad professor, but because he had to make us write a certain amount of pages. They don't
It's
even do
part of
it
the
now.
curriculum.
Yeah,
Oh.
and everybody, anything that was liberal arts, you had a page requirement. So a lot of the
Wow.
professors were like, "Listen, it doesn't have to be good. Just turn it in. We're good." Like they could probably really get in trouble for that. They're like, "We're good. It's fine. Just turn it in because you have to have a certain amount of pages." And a lot of them were straight up like, "If it was up to me, I wouldn't make you write a single paper because you don't need to." But
That's
they
so
had,
wild that they have. Was it the college itself that dictated?
yeah. hmm
That's that kind
It
of
was
that's that
ridiculous.
universal like umbrella approach that just there's no
It doesn't
practicality to it. Well, there's no practicality to it. It's like what are you going to gain from that as a student at
Well,
all?
and maybe for English classes, I would get it. But for like, I took it, like my religion classes were considered liberal arts.
Really?
So all my world religion classes, we had to write papers on things. And all the professors were looking at us saying, I don't want you to have to write this, but sorry, you have to write a certain amount of pages. So we might as well get it over with and then we can have actual discussion where you actually learn things. It was just so silly. And it was just a bureaucratic mess is what it was. They were just trying to make sure and every student that graduated from that college got a certificate of writing or something you could show your employer so they knew you know how to craft an email. I'm like, really? So it was silly. It was just a bureaucratic mess.
I mean, talking about bureaucratic mess, my last semester before I dropped out, I had to take a diversity class at Cleveland State. And there was a few options. I could have taken the real liberal arts ones, like the which tech class I'm talking about. I can't even think of what they are because I didn't even look into them. When I realized I could take a Black History class, I took it.
Hmm.
But she wasn't bad. She was actually a very nice lady, but she was kind of browbeating the idea of being oppressed way too often. Like especially with the topics we had to write in essays and everything. And I got an A and everything. Like I did fine in the class, but I was constantly like pushing her. Like she actually read all the essays and everything and graded them. And I was never rude or anything, but like she would like, I can't even think of a particular essay. She'd be like, what was wrong with blah, 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 blah. I was like, but I would always put things in historical context because I'm American history. I'm huge on. And like when she was trying to purposely like spin a narrative for us to write an essay in that narrative, I would always like say, yeah, but.
But historically, this is actually
And
what's going on.
I just think what's funny is actually that was the class I enjoyed writing essays for almost the most, just because like,
It was a challenge, probably.
and I thought there was like a purpose to it. Like I don't know, I can be kind of a spiteful asshole when I feel like I'm delivering a lesson to people. I feel like I'm dousing a little bit of my judgment for what it's worth on the world, and like I didn't want to miss that opportunity. I was going to turn in the paper anyway, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, there was a class that I took. I wanted to be an anthropology major. I ended up being a religion major with an emphasis on world religions.
Interesting. Yeah,
Um,
I knew world religion. I didn't know you were interested in anthropology before that,
they're
though.
both useless,
Yeah.
practically as degrees.
Yeah.
Now, interest, really cool. Degree, really dumb.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was one of those people that didn't know what I wanted to do and should have taken a gap year and worked and then figured it out. But I
That's
had
kind of what I did.
a class that was
And they
supposed
never
to
came back.
it was supposed to be an anthropology class. I was super excited about it. And then I found out, after I had already entered the class 2 weeks in, that it was a split anthropology and sociology class. It was hell. Like, it was
What?
every week. And the professor was super sweet. She was this cute little, lady with like this pixie cut, and she's super sweet. But the way she talked about things, and she's really lucky that I'm not taking that class with the knowledge that I have now and that I was just getting into politics. I had no idea what was getting on. So even
How many years ago was that?
was it 2019?
2019.
4 or 5 years ago?
Okay.
But even then, it was when I was with Young Americans for Liberty and just starting out with my chapter at my college.
Okay.
So I was basically centrist. I didn't know what I didn't have really any positions. I knew what I believed on some things, but it was kind of split.
You hadn't taken the pill yet. I get it.
Yeah, so I had that class, and then she handed me this piece, and I just got involved with Young Americans for Liberty, so I was like, yeah, capitalism and all that stuff. And I was cool until we started the section of the semester where we had to read a paper every week and then write something like what we thought about it. And one of the papers was something about how capitalism was a system of oppression, basically. And I just sat there and thought, how is it okay for her to have me read this?
And that was for Young Americans for Liberty, or that was for a class? I'm sorry.
No, it was for the sociology.
Oh, for the sociology class. Oh.
But because I was in Young Americans for Liberty, I sat there and stared at that, and I thought, what the hell is this? This can't be accurate. Like, everything I've been learning so far about politics, it's just not true. But it was just, I hate that I had to. And my advisor for my religion degree was a huge Bernie bro.
I was a Bernie bro for a minute.
And he was Calvinist. So.
Oh, Calvinists are interesting people.
Yeah, they're really interesting until they know you're Lutheran, and then they really don't like you because you're a different kind of Protestant. So that was another place we butted heads on. But he was a huge Bernie bro, and I'm like, no.
Did you say Calvinist Bernie bro?
Yes.
That's funny.
It's my brain is
like I don't want to label this guy, but those are two kind of not oil and water labels, but not common, I would say.
No, and I mean there were Presbyterian professors I had that were more liberal, but that I got because I was like, okay, like there's a more liberal sect of Presbyterianism and there's a more traditional, so that I got.
Yeah.
But him, he just had like a Bernie sticker this big on his desk.
Oh my god.
And he knew that like I wasn't a leftist.
And how evangelical Calvinist was he?
He wasn't that really evangelical.
Okay.
I just knew that he was Calvinist.
Okay. Well, I find that
like,
there can be some Calvinists that are very evangelical about their beliefs that they.
No, I wouldn't say that he was evangelical, which kind of that makes sense. Him being a Bernie bro, he probably wasn't.
Yeah.
But him and I we did not get along. Like
sounds like it.
He taught all my, which sucks because he was my advisor for my degree.
Oh, so really?
He wasn't just a professor that I had. He was nice. He was never like antagonistic towards me, unlike the Catholic professor that I had.
Well, I heard recently that a good professor, you shouldn't know how they vote.
Well, they did not follow that.
Well, that's in the more traditional setting. Obviously, that's out the door anymore.
Yeah.
But
I had an amazing.
I think my grandfather said that. I don't know.
I had an amazing history teacher in high school, and we all knew between him and his wife was an English teacher. Mm-hmm. We knew between two of them, one was right wing and one was left wing, but we knew the only reason we knew he was conservative is because we knew his wife was left wing. That's the only reason we knew. He would like hand out when there were local elections, he would hand out, you could volunteer for an election for his classes. And he would hand out both parties and whatever and be like, volunteer for whatever you want. And
I respect that.
He was an amazing teacher because he would tell you both historical sides and stuff like that. And then I got to college and I'm like, whoa, these people are crazy.
Yeah. Well, I respect the people who can really take, like, exactly like I said, like, you don't know the way they vote. I mean, my experience is actually, at Cleveland State, I actually had a really good professor. It was a world religions class, and he was an imam. He's Muslim. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, he was the harshest on Islam the entire time. He was, like, very critical of a lot of things of it. And I've just never had... I'd never really spoken with imam more than anyone in my life. Like, they don't really fall out of the sky for conversation in Northeast Ohio.
You kind of have to seek them out.
But he was, like, actually culturally, I can't remember if he was Syrian or he's from that area. And he just was really open and honest about the issues of all religions. He was I've never had a person, he's like top 10 most honest people. Like, I'd ask him questions that were on purpose provocative. He handled them like it was just he had already had the conversation. He was so confident in his views on things. I was just like, that to me, that's mastery of, like, understanding your material. When a little shithead like me can think, like, I got that one thing, I got you, and he'd always just he got me every time. And that's like, to me, that's what a good teacher's supposed to do. You're not supposed to, like, I see these videos of kids like fighting professors, like that at its worst, but more just having these spats. It's like, it shouldn't come to that. Like, you should be testing the teacher.
Yeah.
But it also shouldn't be like a goose stepping, like everyone has the same thought. I mean, you should be having like, well, what about this? What about that? I don't know. I was always the kid who asked too many questions in class.
It's really sad, but like I was just starting to find myself politically, so I got to the point, like when people say, oh, I'm too scared to speak up, like I get it. Because it got to the point where I was just like, okay, I'm just not going to say anything, because like I know I'm either going to get berated, shut down, or get an F in this class. Like this is really bad. I had a very liberal ethics teacher who was Catholic in college, which explosion brain again. Like, don't really understand that, but
Catholic.
Okay.
Oh, you said a Catholic liberal ethics professor.
Ethics teacher.
An ethics teacher, but was a Catholic liberal too? You said.
Yes. Very. Like, he loves Pope Francis. He's probably still raving about Pope Francis. But my other Catholic friends are like having panic attacks, like, oh my God, what is he doing? And this guy was like, ooh, go Francis. I'm like,
oh my God.
He knew I was Lutheran, because a lot of the religion teachers, they'd have you go around the class, because a lot of people had to take these for electives. Mm-hmm. So he would ask you what your religious background is, like what you think about it, just like honestly, not so he could make fun of you or anything. Mm-hmm. So everyone knew when you asked a question in class where you were coming from. So if you were like somebody that didn't grow up religious, nobody was going to make fun of you if you asked a basic question, because they'd know, oh, that's the atheist guy. Like, he doesn't know. Like, he's just asking.
Right.
Or, oh, that's the Catholic. Why are they asking that? They should know that.
Right.
So we went around, so he knew I was Lutheran. And, like, we studied one section of Luther's works in the class, which was fine. And he basically flat out looked at me and was like, well, you know, Lutherans really contributed to the Holocaust and are one of the main reasons that it happened in Germany. And I was like...
That was his explanation?
Yeah.
That's this. Oh my gosh, that's the same argument that, like, because the Columbine kids played Doom, that all Doom players are. It's like, no, everyone played Doom at the time. The Germans were Lutheran. Oh my God.
I know. So I walked out of the class. The class I've ever walked out of. I looked at him and I just like, did the Karen head tilt, and I was like, have you ever heard of Dietrich Bonhoeffer? And I got up out of my desk and I walked out of the classroom. I don't know if you know who that is.
No, that's why I'm laughing even harder. Because I agree with you and I have no idea what you're talking about.
My brother's becoming a pastor, and he's actually planning on writing his dissertation on him. He is one of the pastors in Germany that stood up and actually didn't help plan assassinations, but was adamantly anti-Nazi. And
Interesting.
Actually was one of the people in the church that stood up against them and said, we gotta stop this. Like, we're Christians. This is not. Yeah. This ain't cool.
Well, from what I understand, in the Nazi rise of power, they did everything they could to undermine any church, not just the Lutheran church in particular. Yeah. So I'm not surprised that there was a pastor that stood up. I mean, I think I've heard the name, but I didn't know what he did.
You probably have, but yeah. He's one of the people that stood up and was like,
interesting.
It's not to stand up. We don't just need to not support this. We need to get him out.
Yeah.
Any way possible. He actually died in prison.
And you said his name was Dieter. Start with
Dietrich Bonhoeffer.
Dietrich von. Sorry.
B-O-N.
B-O-N.
B as in boy.
B-O-N.
Yeah, and he has a book. Just called Ethics, and it's one of my favorite like religious books. It's really good. But that's why I brought him up specifically. I just looked at him. I just said that dude's name because I know he knew who it was.
He was born in Poland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, I knew that the professor would know who that was. I said it. I got up. I walked out of the classroom. And a few months after that, I dropped out of college. I was like, phew. This is what I was really interested in, but I'm not getting anywhere in college, and it's not going to do anything, and I just literally cannot do this anymore. So I'll study by myself and learn about things by myself, and I've learned so much more just going around to conferences and talking to other people like this than I ever did in school. So
big time. Well, and like conferences I really haven't done much of, but I just keep going back to praising Twitter. It's like my favorite thing is putting myself out there and having someone who knows more than me put me in my place. Like, I enjoy that, quite frankly. Like, I like to go back to the whole smartest person, dumbest person in the room. I like being reminded I'm not the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
And it, like, if you're afraid or apprehensive of that, like, that's, I don't know, that's not a good personality trait. I wouldn't want to try to keep that going if I did have an issue with it, you know?
Well, you'll never learn anything that way. That's
Yeah.
what's so scary.
Well, and that's the idea of an echo chamber. That's, you know, we were talking about that earlier. It's like, if you don't have that, you will form an echo chamber. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah.
Man.
And that was like what, 5 years ago, I think. So God knows what that's like now.
I know. Well,
it scares me. I'm like, I know personally that 5 years ago this was happening. So I don't, and this was a private school. This wasn't even a public university.
I went to a public university, 2 different public universities.
Yeah, I went to 2 public. I went to 1 state school, 1 public community college, and then I went to a private college. So I got the full experience there, and it's all crazy.
Yeah.
They're all crazy.
Well, that's the thing is, and I'm 27 now, and I've like considered going back to school, but I just listen. And realistically, you know, I could probably go. It's fine. I'm probably making a mountain out of a molehill, you know. But I wonder, like, why would I want to invest the money on the chance that I'm going to have to jump through hoops that don't make any sense? Really, that's what it comes down to. Is I know I can deal with the issues that we're talking about, like gross over exaggerations. I can put up with that. It's just, why would I want to do a bunch of work and submit to an authority that doesn't have my best interest in mind or my growth, and you know what I mean?
And that's the unfortunate thing is, people ask me, they're like, well, don't you want to go back to school and all this, and when are you going to go back to school? And they, especially my family, my brother and I, and our cousins that are the same age, are the first generation to actually go to college.
Yeah.
So our parents don't understand the culture that's happening in universities.
Yeah.
So it's even worse than trying to explain it to someone, I think, that's been to university, to explain, oh, it's different. Because usually those people have a little bit more of a pulse on it. But to explain to people who think college is just the best thing and you have to get a degree, we didn't get one, so we want you to have a better life, which is admirable. But you have to explain to them, it's not. I will literally go crazy.
Yeah.
Do it. So, yeah, it's an interesting time as far as education goes.
It is. And I mean, I just completely agree with what you're saying. Is like, I've learned more outside of college than I did. I can't say that. I had some classes that when I was in the STEM field, I learned a lot in those.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Like, those were good classes. Like, I learned stats when I was in stats. I learned biology when I was in biology. The funny thing is, I just helped my cousin with her stats homework, and it was rusty, but like, I could reason it out. It all made sense.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of stuff, there's a point to, and that's why I don't want to like throw the baby out with the bathwater, because there's still a lot of great things in college. But like, this is what I always told my cousins since I dropped out, is I said, if you don't, even before I dropped out, I was like, if you don't have a plan for what you're doing, if you don't like have a goal, an exact purpose for why you're getting that piece of paper, why go? You're wasting your money. You're going with a cultural movement more than you are a better decision to enhance your life.
Well, right, and I mean, there are people who go and they say, I'm not going, even people that don't go into STEM.
Right.
They say, I want to be a teacher, so I'm going to go for this. I'm going to get my degree. I'm going to teach here, for me, I went to private school, so you get a call somewhere a lot of times. And, my brother's becoming a pastor. It's not like that's the richest profession in the world. No. So, but he's wanted to do that since he's 4. That's not STEM. That's not necessarily practical. But
the thing is, I would argue that also, if your brother's finding purpose in what he's doing, if he's making all his ends meets, if he's not, doing anything out of his means, I mean, what's wrong with that? I mean, honestly, the impact that he could do as a pastor, I'm sure he could be an amazing pastor and really affect a lot of people. And it's like, why does that, did he have to go to school to be a pastor, or is he?
Yeah, he's actually still in school.
Oh, okay.
He is on his vicarage right now, which is basically an internship.
Okay.
It's paid internship though, and he's
Okay.
actually teaching at a local high school and on his internship in school. So
Okay. Just
he's
stay
getting
busy.
practical experience too and actually making money. So it's not like, anything like that. But like those people, like you said, totally understand it. If you're
Yeah.
like you said, if you're finding purpose in what you're doing, that's fine. But there are so many people I know that went to school and actually got a degree. They didn't find purpose in it, and they're making money even, but they're miserable.
Aimless. Aimless. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, well, I did what I'm supposed to do, and I hear this from so many people. They say, well, I graduated from college, got my degree, have my job, have everything I want. What do I do now?
Vacation, buy a house, buy a dog, buy a car.
Just go through the motions.
Yep.
And I hate that for people. Like, I want to live in a society where people have purpose in what they're doing, and I feel like we're losing that. But like you said with Twitter, as silly as it sounds to mention it, the internet is opening up so many doors for people of finding purpose and getting more information and not having to necessarily lean on traditional forms of education to find what they're interested in.
Well, I used to be afraid of Twitter for a while. It's like I didn't know, like it was kind of Wild West. Like I was scared to, like, I guess, be vulnerable at the beginning. And I'm learning it's like, oh, you can just say some dumb stuff sometimes, and if no one pays attention, just take it down. It's like not a big deal. But sometimes someone wants to talk about something that's very trivial. Sometimes someone wants to talk about something that's very deep and maybe very provocative or controversial.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I guess this is the biggest thing I learned was like not to take the ego hit when you really feel passionate about something and no one responds. Like that was the first hit I had to take.
There are some things.
Like I couldn't take that at first.
There's some, even now, I'll type out a tweet, I'll hit send, and I'll think, yes, this is it. People are going to get this. This is going to hit people. This is a really good tweet. People are going to respond, and we're going to have a good conversation. And it gets like 30 likes. And I sit there and think, oh no, I really wanted to talk about this.
I know.
Stupid stuff goes viral, and I'm like,
yeah.
That's the only thing about Twitter that drives me nuts.
Perfect example of one I saw recently had over 100,000 likes, like however many retweets, and it was something like, so if we're not dating, does that mean I can't suck on them titties or something like that? I'm like, okay. It was something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, but
stupid sexual stuff.
But those are the things that just, like, when you get in the mindless retweets, the mindless likes, those are the ones that people are like, yeah. Yeah.
So it's a balance, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I still think both are good.
Well,
like it's good to just have a laugh over silly stuff.
Exactly. That's why I don't want to sound like a turd in a punch bowl here, but yeah, no, like there's nothing wrong with tweets like that either. It's...
Yeah, but it does. I get what you're saying though. Sometimes it's really blackpilling to see a tweet that's just so dumb and it has so many likes and retweets, and you just think to yourself, "Is this really where we are?" This is
Mac. I was actually wondering if you wanted to bring up black pill versus red pill because I wasn't sure if you'd heard of it. So the fact that you've already addressed it, you're instilling confidence in me.
Yeah, I do tweet quite often, and when I see something, I'll be like, black pilled again. I was finally in a space where I was good, and then I did.
Hell no. Burn it with fire.
Yeah, exactly.
My question to you though is like, to the concept of black pill, is it completely ideological to you? Are there other kind of party lines that because this is where I've found I've not really been able to talk about it with many people, but I feel like certain people think black pill means one thing and certain people means another. I'll tell you what I think. I'm just curious. I don't want to spoil you with what, I'll share what I think. I just want to hear what you say.
I think when I tweet things like black pilled again, I'm mostly joking. I'm not actually black pilled. And I also think really the phrase black pilled is kind of dumb, to be honest.
Yep.
People take this whole Matrix red pill, blue pill thing way too
literally. They take it way too literally. Yeah.
For example, I was tussling with somebody on Twitter, we'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
Because he said, I'm not blue pilled or red pilled, I'm yellow pilled. And I'm like, dude,
what are you Japanese or are you coward? I don't know. Like what do you
What? He's like, I'm libertarian. And I'm like,
oh my God.
Not political. Red pill is not conservative and blue pill is not liberal. What? That's
You know what that answer is to me? It's like, are you a Republican or a Democrat? I'm a human being.
Oh God.
That's all I hear. That's all I hear. It's just super cringe to me. That's like, and I honestly, I used to like using the phrase cringe, but I use it sparingly now because people use it so
often.
Oh my God. Like, someone will do something nice for someone and people will be like, oh, that's cringe. I'm like, seriously? Being nice to someone is cringy?
I feel like the red pill, blue pill stuff is taken way too far. I'm just like, guys, and to be honest, I know you just said people use this too much, but it can be very cringe.
Well, to me, there is, okay. I think language itself, you talk about anthropology, I think the use of language is its own science that people don't really acknowledge enough anyway. The way words... I'm sorry?
It's powerful.
It's completely powerful. Like, the N-word itself, the way that word has evolved over the last 100 years is incredible.
Yeah.
I use it all the time. I prefer not to use it on my podcast, but I just like to see how people react to things that are verboten. You know, it's like, we give power to words. That being said, the whole idea of black-pilled, I wanted to bring it up to you because I read, I don't even know what led me down this, but I just Googled black pill because I want to see what Google would say. I know where I think it goes. Actually, I follow on YouTube the channel Black Pilled by Devin Stack. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you are aware of that at all.
No, I'm not familiar with it.
He takes a lot of old movies and exposes secret agendas and propaganda within old films.
I can watch that. I'll go down the rabbit hole. I already go down the rabbit hole.
I watch every one he releases. It's like crack to me. The movies I haven't even seen, I just get riled up. I'm like, I can't believe people funded this one day. I'm like, it's straight angry to my veins every time I watch it. But I want to read to you real quick because this is the number one. It's a Quora. What is the black pill? And this is the number one answer. It's actually fairly long. I'm just going to give you the quick excerpts to it. Black pill is the most extreme reactionary ideology of the most extreme corners of the incel community. That's how it starts off. And this is, granted, the number one answer on Quora. That was the first thing I Googled.
Is this Google?
This is off Google. I use DuckDuckGo. But I like to know where Google's head is.
You mean where Skynet's head is?
Yeah, right? Or do you want me to just read the whole thing? I can read it pretty quickly. Or you can tell me to stop if I need to. It says, it is a reference to the movie The Matrix, in which the character Neo is given a choice. Take a blue pill and remain in the Matrix, or take a red pill and discover that reality he lives in is totally wrong. Incel red pill folks, this is a whole new paragraph, believe they know the truth, quote unquote, that the typical world most people live in is a lie. And the truth is that women hold all the power, women control the world, women call all the shots, and women make all the rules, simply by manipulating men through sex. It's incredibly toxic sexist horseshit. The black pill crowd thinks the red pillars don't go far enough. Black pill ideology claims, among other things, not only do women control the world, but it will always be this way, and men will always and forever be subordinate to women. Because men have a biological drive to have sex, and that can never be changed, and women will always use this sex drive to manipulate men. There's more. But this kind of overthinking in Alice in Wonderland kind of deepness can only be written by leftists.
What Washington Post person wrote that?
Franklin Vo. He's in Portland, Oregon. Well, because this is one thing I talk to everyone on my podcast about.
That's not a dude. I refuse to believe that man wrote that.
Says he's a 15-year veteran English teacher with an MA in English Lit.
Where does he live?
Portland, Oregon. He's a published writer for the Huffington Post, Slate, Forbes, Medical Daily.
Right. He's a Washington Post guy.
BBC, Apple News, StoryPick, The Independent, Mental Floss, and Thought Catalog.
Oh my God! Why are they? I hate that these people are so predictable.
Do you mind if I subject you to the last half?
That was only half.
That was only. Well, actually, no. That's like 2/3. We're almost done. There's just went into whatever you want to say. He went into these are the claims of the black pill ideology, and so far I'd only listed the first one. He says, the only thing that matters, has ever mattered, or will ever matter to women is looks and status. because these are the tenets he claims black pill people. It does. It's the projection is insane. Or will ever matter to women's looks and status because women are biologically hardwired to mate only with women of looks and status due to their evolutionary programming. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Some men, omega men, are biologically predisposed never to find love or sex, and trying to change this is a futile and pointless attempt at trying to flap your arms and fly. I didn't even finish it last time. This is hilarious for me. Personality does not matter to women when they make choices about who to have sex with. This is simply one of the lies women tell men in order to manipulate them. In parentheses, looks are everything, personality is nothing, is a common black pill slogan. Final one. I know. Because all these things come from biological determinism, they are as fixed and immutable as the law of gravity. An incel cannot stop being an incel any more than a rock can spontaneously change into a cat. Final line, it's a blend of misogyny and nihilism. Drop mic.
That's not...
I'll take snaps now.
Wait, I have to find this.
Just all I did to find this beautiful. This is actually what popped up.
Is this the top search on Google?
If you type in black pill to Google, this is, you know how they always have the one thing that comes to the top, like to answer your question? This is the answer to the question according to Google.
What did you just type in, black pill?
Black pill.
Black pill.
And it's the first thing that came up for me. It says about featured snippets.
Oh my god, it really is the first search. Oh my god.
That is the answer. Like, okay, let's say if my grandma was like, oh, Michael was just talking about black pill, what should I do to... If she went and Googled it, this is what she'd think the answer is.
Did you click on the author's name?
I haven't yet. I just did now, actually, as I was... I
can't wait to read this man's memoir.
The internet is the greatest technological change in the last 30 years. What sort of comparable change may occur in the next 2 or 3 decades? I'm curious. What do you have to think, Franklin Vo?
He learned to build BDSM sex dungeon furniture at 38. Great for you, Frank.
Is Richard Dawkins a virgin? Oh, these are all the things he's answered on Quora. I see.
I'm reading about his biography right now.
No, I'm looking at what other things he felt the need to enlighten people on. Why is this man the authority of black pill?
Why is he the authority on anything?
Yeah, I was following this. What I was thinking myself after I asked that. Now I'm gonna go to DuckDuckGo and I'll see what comes up for black pill. Urban Dictionary. This might be a little better.
Here are the top things Franklin, I call him Frank, sorry, Franklin knows about. Sex, dating and relationships, dating advice, sexuality, and love. I would not...
That's what he claims?
These are the top things he knows about according to Quora.
Oh.
Those are the top questions he answers about.
Oh, dear me. Sounds like a leftist incel.
Oh, and I clicked on the more topics that he writes about. 1, 2, 3, 4. The sixth, those were his top 5. The sixth thing he most commonly answers questions about is pornography.
And you said he did something about he built BDSM furniture when he was 38 or something.
Open relationships, polyamory, ex-boyfriends and ex-girlfriends. These are the things that he most commonly writes about on Quora. What a character.
Well, back to black pill real quick because I don't want to... Alice, I'm pulling you out. Alice.
Yeah, I don't want to get down that.
Yeah, I can see you're taking the blue pill on that one. You did take a step back. So the first thing...
He's really convincing me. I gotta stop reading his book.
You really...
Blue pills.
Yeah, you might take the blue pill finally. So I did the same thing, just typed in black pill to DuckDuckGo, and the first thing that comes up is Urban Dictionary. And I like Urban Dictionary because I don't find it normally be any bit curated. And this is back from 2016, November was when this definition was written. A catastrophic prophecy or spiritless prophesizing for a future that is not necessarily grounded in reality. Red pill gone hopelessly bleak. That's to me actually not a bad definition. I find black pills to be it's very nihilistic. It's you believe you take the red pill, you look for reality, but you think there's no hope in helping. Like to me, a red pill is someone who believes in reality, not what's been spun, but wants to make it better. A black pill is like fuck it, and none of it matters. Like we've already lost.
Well, that's the dumb thing. Like that guy was acting like black pill is an extension of red pill.
It's not.
It's not at all. And red pill is not about. Oh.
He made it seem like black pill is like the whatever Antifa, whatever extremist. It's like this what's white supremacist. There's even another term. Whatever they think that the far right, whatever. They think black pill is far right. It's like you might have some far right people who are black pilled, but I think it's not mutually mutually exclusive, you know? I think that black pill just means you don't think the system is worth protecting anymore.
Right. Well, I don't know. That guy's Quora answer made me think about that quote from Billy Madison where the guy's like, what you said is one of the most idiotic things I've ever heard. That
was one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. I'm dumber for having heard it. Well, apparently there's an incel wiki in black pill. Let's see what they have to say.
That's good. You should go. There's actually a website for incels.
Is there?
Like legitimate incels.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I've just never been curious. Is it Incels Anonymous?
Yeah, it's actually incels.co. Like it's a website.
Oh. Incels.
And they have a black pill tab on their website.
Do they? Interesting. My question is, I'm looking for a definition of what people can agree black pilled is, and I don't find a consistent one. Like we were saying earlier, it's like people take too literally the metaphor of the Matrix, but it's like...
I just found something.
What's that?
I went to the incels website.
I'm on there right now.
There's a tab called black pill, and when you click on it, it takes you to a wiki.
Oh, that's where I'm at. That's where I was just at before you said that.
It's a scientific black pill. And the scientific black pill is actually about human and social behavior, especially female mate choice. So maybe this is like a side of incel that I just haven't looked into, and Frank wasn't crazy after all. But that still is not what the black pill is to everything. He should have done more research.
Oh, apparently this has been quantified.
He's just obsessed with sex and degenerate things, so he must assume that, well, the black pill must be about sex too, so this must be what black pill is. That's all that was.
I should never go back to this webpage ever in my life. Scientific black pill? Are you at the same one I'm talking about? It says incel inside in the top left corner.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm getting out of here.
These articles...
Make me angry.
These articles are... 39% of hospitalized male psychopaths had consensual sex with female health staff. What?
I don't know. It's.
I can't. I'm ripping out. I'm done. I'm pulling out. Well, as soon as I saw it, there was like articles about it, and they're trying to peer review it. I'm like, I don't even want to.
Yeah. Nope. That's no. That's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Well,
I don't think it has anything to do with sex.
No, that was the point I had. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because I read that Quora thing, but it seems like I guess there are some incels who do think it's a sex thing. So maybe there is some truth in what Franklin was saying, and we were the ignorant ones today. I don't know.
Well, Franklin's still a degenerate.
He's still a degenerate. I'm not giving him any credit in the slightest. I'm just saying he might be accurate in his description of the incel community, at least.
Coomers.
Coomers?
Yeah, have you heard that?
No.
It's basically people, they just lived for sex.
That's a thing?
And that's all they think about, and everything revolves around
How's it spelled?
C-U, I think C-U-M-M. I think that's how it's spelled.
Commerce? Coomers?
Oh no, C-U-O-O-M maybe.
C-U-O-O?
Yeah.
M?
It's a... kind of like a forum lingo online.
Coomer.
Right now.
Know your meme.
Yeah, it's a meme.
Refers to... Oh, it started... Apparently it's based off something from 4chan. Such as a 30-year-old boomer or zoomer.
I'm taking plausible deniability on that one, but maybe, might be. I don't know.
I don't know.
But
Realistically, we're going into things neither of us really want to get into here. I think
yeah,
we did a good analysis of Black Pill and then actually learned a little too much that maybe
we went too far down.
all I learned is that ultimately I know whatever in this metaphor I'm still red pill, not black pill.
Based in red pill.
Based in red pill is the way to go. The blue one just doesn't taste good. I kind of tried it for a while. It wasn't my thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's people just try to make all of those things political or sexual and things that they're not, and it's stupid.
Well, it's a weird like I don't know. When I look at it from a philosophical standpoint, like if you just look at people trying to handle an argument from many different paths, of course you're gonna have a lot of people just try to explain it away by the most simple answers. You're gonna have sex. You're gonna have obviously wealth, things like that are going to come into it, and that's going to be the first answers. But realistically, I think at the end of the day, the whole black pill is just giving up on. I try to base it off the most simple principle, the difference between blue and red pill. And I think we discussed it before. I just want to kind of touch on it again. I talked with Chris Lokes on it at more length when he was on, but it's just the idea that the individual is more important than the group, and obviously black pill is when you think that interacting with blue pills isn't worth it, I guess is kind of how I look at it. It's like black pills are so isolationist, they're like, it's not even worth interacting with the larger herd because the well's been poisoned in their minds, I would say. But it sounds like there's an actual, like, path to it. There's some, like, foundation that's trying to be founded on a sexual principle. And that, to me, almost sounds like its own movement. It sounds like it has its own like secret agenda.
It sounds to me like scientific black pill about female mating choice is just a bunch of incels trying to prove that the red pill people are wrong about it and that blah blah blah,
Yeah.
so that they can justify their own life position to themselves, which is understandable but silly.
Yeah.
That's like to me, just skimming over it.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I don't know. I haven't dug into it deep enough, but I don't really want to. I guess that's going to be how I explain it away to myself at the very least, because
I don't want to know that those people exist.
I mean, part of me like I need to like keep that in mind for like the equation when I run into a stranger. It's like, oh, you might be one of those people.
Yeah. Oh, one of those people.
You know though.
Yeah.
It's like certain. I feel like sometimes I give strangers too much benefit of the doubt. Like, how you doing today? Oh, you want to know how I'm doing today? I'm like, oh, okay, all right, well.
You're like, oh, no, I don't.
I thought you were just a normal dude. I don't know what you do in your free time anymore, but.
I've seen a meme on Facebook where it's like, when you ask a white person, how are you doing? And they go, oh, living the dream. And it like means that they want to off themselves. That makes me laugh really hard. Because
I never heard that. That's awful black pilled in my mind.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's funny. I don't. Kind of a dark sense of humor, so I think it's hilarious.
Well, here's the thing: is like I had a dark sense of humor for a while, and then I just thought about it. It's like, what does having a dark sense of humor help me with? And I was like, realistically, if there's something I can like choose to like eschew at a young age, I'm gonna try to not be as nihilistic, and that's more of just. I hate this. It makes me feel like I also value comedy and levity, and it's not a very good. I'll still laugh at it, but I just look at it. I'm like, the problem I find with a lot of memes is it ends up being a cry for help. Like it's not always comedic. Sometimes it's like I'm really struggling. I'm like, well, maybe you should like not joke about it, because I find when I'm joking about things I'm struggling with, it allows me to go on without like getting the help I need, or addressing it, getting the help I need, whatever you need,
Yeah, that's so true. I saw this on another meme on Facebook a friend shared, and it was like one of those where there's people in the photo.
Yeah.
And it was basically saying me posting suicidal memes by general people on my Facebook laughing, and then it was like a friend behind them like going like, are you okay, dude? It was like my actual friends who know I'm not joking.
Yeah. I've never seen that, but I can imagine that meme. I've never seen that one in particular, but I can totally envision it. I've seen one similar to that. I mean, It's interesting. Like meme culture, I think I think it's still a net positive, but I think anthropologically, we still don't really know what we're doing with it. Like I think honestly, the best meme to date now is becoming the Jeff Epstein meme. It is to me. If there's a stock market of memes, it's what I would be buying stock in.
I like that we're using. That's what I like that people use memes for, is like distributing, like secretly or not so secretly distributing information.
That's the
like,
exact point.
Forgot about this.
Well, and Trump is playing into it with the whole dog. Oh, did you see Jim Acosta also? Did you see Jim Acosta's tweet about the dog?
No.
Jim Acosta reported on it objectively. He's like, I want to make sure everyone knows. I forget exactly what he's, but this was a doctored photo.
I saw that.
Vice, Mark Dice, Mike Malice, they all instantly jumped on that. Just like, thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
Oh, I had no idea.
I'm pulling up the tweet right now because I don't want to. I hate paraphrasing.
I saw a tweet. And it was, somebody had photoshopped the dog's head on Trump and Trump's head on the dog, and they captioned it in all caps with, I don't even know what's real anymore.
Here. I'm actually going to send the tweet to you. Yeah, that's with all these crazy, the reactions people are giving each other, it's hard to know what's real, because realistically, I don't know, like 10 years ago, if this happened, one, it wouldn't make sense, but two, I just sent it to you over Skype.
Poe's law, man. Some things.
It's like, why does this need to be reported? A White House official said the dog is not at the White House. Thanks, Jim Acosta. Like okay, this is the most brilliant self-burn I've ever seen Jim Acosta make.
He's baiting them too.
I know.
It's brilliant. I just, love or hate him. It's just what he's doing on Twitter is hilarious.
That's what I try to tell people all the time. Acosta had 21,000 likes for that. Mark Dice, all he said back was, you had to ask, and he got 7.4 thousand. It's hilarious.
This one was hilarious. So Daily Wire is the...
Oh, I'm aware of the Daily Wire.
Yeah, look at this one. This is what they responded to Jim Acosta's tweet.
Yeah. Well, I saw one like that. I don't really follow Daily Wire. I'm not particularly a fan anymore over things I probably don't even remember. I just have a bad feeling about them anymore. But someone else did the War Room from the Baghdadi raid, and they put instead of all the generals, it was all the dogs. To me, that was the best. That was the best version I've seen of it.
Oh.
The Daily Wire does get a lot of traffic, though. I'm kind of weird. I'm still kind of an edgelord. I try to find things where it doesn't get a lot of traffic. I try to find the diamonds in the rough because, like, obviously I could follow, like, a lot of the mainstream things, but I feel like when they're good, it'll pop them in my feed anyway. So, like, I don't bother following the Daily Wire because, like, when they post something good, someone's going to retweet it anyway.
I just like to keep tabs.
I get that.
Sounds really weird. I just like to keep tabs on all the popular... And I follow, like, the New York Times on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I keep tabs on all these people.
Yeah. And well, there's a few leftists that I had debates with who never blocked me who I still follow, and I'll still drop shit talk.
Respect, at least. The fact that they haven't blocked you says something.
Well, that's Syra Rao. I don't know if you know the account I'm referring to.
What is it called?
Her name is Syra Rao. Blue check mark.
I don't know who that is.
She posts, I mean, honestly, I can't tell if it's a parody. I don't think she's not a parody account, but she's Titanium McGrath level.
An Indian lady?
Yeah. From Colorado. She's her bio says first generation Indian American, former congressional candidate for Colorado's, I assume, 1st District, CD1, and co-founder of Race to Dinner. So she made an app. Oh God. I never clicked on the app. Race to Dinner facilitates painfully honest conversations between white women and women of color. So she made an app that...
Yeah, okay, sure.
The thing is, her pinned tweet is white people really hate being called white people.
She's a real politician.
Yeah, I just... she's said some really just dumb.
She graduated from NYU, but
There you
she's
go.
from Colorado. I think she's from Denver. Yeah.
Oh, she might be a carpetbagger. Just New York raised and like, well, now I'm just gonna. I mean, essentially what Hillary Clinton did, because she was from the South, wasn't she?
She has a book
Does she? That'd be hilarious.
called Chambermaid, a novel.
I recently got into a little discussion over one of her things. I forget. I gotta go back. What was it? I don't know if I'm even gonna find it. Shit, I've been tweeting a lot lately.
I just search my tweets sometimes when I want to find
Do
something.
you? I don't even remember what it would be. Like, I forgot what I'm even looking for because I'm just reading my old stuff now.
You can search her @name and your @name.
Can I?
Mm-hmm. If you just type in your @name in the search and then her @name, it'll pull up all your responses to her tweets.
Oh, no shit.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Twitter is the one platform I'm not a boomer about.
I don't even know if I'm doing this right. Do you put the @ in and everything? I feel like a boomer now.
Yeah, the @, yeah. And then a space, and then her @name, and it should bring you both up.
Didn't work.
Whatever interactions you've had with her tweet.
Didn't work, but I don't know if I spelled her @name right.
Yeah, that's the only.
Oh, no. It's different. I don't even care anymore. It wasn't that good, but I forget. She made a dumb point, and then I made fun of her, and then I had a what was he? Some transgender, disabled, Hispanic person told me I should. Oh, I know. I remember what it was. She did something about like over the top feminism, and I was like, you should try your religion in rural Ohio. You should try preaching your religion in rural Ohio. And then people jumped on me. They're like, well, why are you in rural Ohio? Like, they're going to be racist towards you. Probably looking at my profile picture. I'm like,
oh my God.
I'm like,
well, it's not racist to look at you and be like,
I know.
oh.
Well, and then the thing is, the one tweet I wanted to pull up is I said, why would they? Because then the guy responded, because I think it was trans. I really have a hard time with trans. I don't have much patience for it. But, it was just like, they're going to run you out of town next. I'm like, what for? I'm half white. And there's like, for being brown. That was the tweet. I'm like, how can you go full...
Where are they from?
New York.
Enough said.
That's...
I have such trouble. I had a guy vehemently arguing with me.
Oh, here it is. I found the thread.
Last year on Twitter, this guy from California, from Los Angeles, told
I got blocked.
Oh.
I can't see the others. I can show you the tweet if you're not blocked. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just letting you know what I'm doing.
Not blocked, so you can send it to me.
Yeah, there's the thread.
I had this guy from California telling me that there was nowhere, these are his exact words, I remember, because I was like, how are you dumb? There is nowhere in the United States, we were having a conversation about the minimum wage for context, and like living expenses and stuff like that.
Okay.
And he said, there is nowhere in the United States that a person can live with less than $1,000 rent for an apartment.
False. I did for 3 years.
Well, you're from Ohio.
I was paying $635 for one of the biggest apartments I've ever owned in my life.
Right. You probably know how ridiculously low.
It's hilarious. Yeah.
Ohio is. And in the Midwest, where I'm from,
like,
it's ridiculously low.
I will give a direct association. What I paid for in Chicago, I paid $1,500 a month. For 1/3 the size apartment, I had more like a half. I'll be conservative and say half the size of what I paid $15 for, I got for $635 in Ohio. And that's with like a garage spot. That's with everything, like laundry. Like, it wasn't a shitty apartment. Like, it's just costs are low. Like, people don't understand the idea of like different markets in different regions.
These people also think that everywhere in the U.S. that isn't the coast, people who haven't been outside of where they grew up which usually you would think that would be someone from the Midwest like
Right.
us, but
Right. Well, I find that we travel a lot, just in general, Midwest people.
yeah. Well, because
Well, we have
wanna-
more money to travel with.
Oh, that's true.
We can travel.
That's a good point. Maybe they don't travel because they literally
Or-
cannot afford to live barely.
But here's also this is a guess I would make too. Is like, let's say when they save up enough money to travel, they're not going to go visit the Midwest. They're going to go to other.
coasts.
They're going to took the words right out of my mouth. They're going to go visit other coasts and stay just as insulated as they were before.
I hate coastal elitists.
Well, and Chicago is its own coastal colony. I'll say that.
I know, but it's totally different though.
It is different. I liked Chicago. I dog it, but I also like it's not perfect to me, but I appreciate it for what it is. It still has plenty of Midwest positivity to it.
My husband and I talk about this all the time. There's this thing we call the city meme, the city life meme.
Okay.
And it's this meme that you need to move to the cities because you just can't do what you can do in the Midwest and places like that in these big cities. And I'm like, okay, on one hand, I see what you're saying, but on the other hand, the things that you're saying that you can't do in the Midwest, because another problem is people think the Midwest is all completely rural. It's
Right.
not.
It's not.
Chicago is in the Midwest.
Yes. Well,
The cities in the Midwest.
I mean, even some of the Midwestern cities like Milwaukee, I mean, they're not small cities. I mean, you still get all the amenities. You still get all. I mean, Columbus in Ohio is one of the fastest growing cities in the country, and they don't even have an international airport. I don't think yet. Cleveland does.
Columbus has an airport, but I'm not sure if it's international or not.
I don't think so. Cleveland Hopkins International is, I think, the only international one. I don't know. I really, it's been a while since I've paid attention. I don't fly that much anymore.
But these people, they just, not only have they not been where they're criticizing, but like, I hate to bring this back to Trump, but I mean, no wonder Trump won the election if they think we're all sitting on our homes wearing overalls.
Yeah, no, that's like an apt stereotype to make. That I'm sure there's a decent amount of people who, when they picture the opposing voter, they don't picture the person who's also an entrepreneur and a father and a part-time pastor. You know, those kind of people. They don't picture the best case scenario. Like, I honestly try to, when I criticize leftists, think of the best quality person. The person who is maybe taking in not refugees, but like orphan children. Like, they're leftists, but they're still being a net positive to society. I think one of the biggest problems with across both party lines, because I try to be pretty centrist, is that neither side can picture the other side in a good light anymore. Especially when the political discussion gets posed. I had people literally in Chicago tell me, like, I would know them for a long time, and then I'd finally reveal that I support Trump. And they're like, one girl in particular, she's like, but how can you like support Trump if you're like a good person? That blew me away. I was like, how do I answer that? You kind of framed that question in a very not intellectually honest way, first off, but
Well, it's like asking someone, did you quit beating your wife yet?
Yeah, same concept, yeah.
It's like, how am I, what? Like, no matter what way you answer that.
Yes? No? Like,
well, yeah, but I try to, I don't know. It's just like there's some people, and there's, of course, people like this in the Midwest too. I'm not saying there's not, that, they don't try to put themselves in anyone else's shoes. Like, what people don't understand is you don't have to agree with somebody to see, you can see where people are coming from and still think it's wrong.
Well, it's the idea of sympathy, the idea of empathy a little, further, but
people think that empathy is, not only just like knowing where someone's coming from, but they think it's agreeing with someone. So
I'm a very empathetic person, but I'm a very disagreeable person, and I don't think that's paradoxical, really.
I don't think so either. It's like they think, oh, well, you're not agreeing with me because you're not empathetic. It's like, no, you're projecting. That's not how that works.
Exactly. Well, and I just want to address this for a second. Is like one of the reasons I want to do this podcast is because like that whole moment, like I just said, it's like, well, you're a Trump supporter and you're a good person. It's like, I want to have those moments in long form discussions. It's like, yeah, you do cosplay, but also you do politics. It's like, there might be, maybe this is, I don't know. I don't know about the cosplay community, but when I think of cosplay, I don't think of intellectual, political people. And for you to combine that and to show that over the long form, like that's what people need to see. They need to see that people aren't just these one-dimensional characters that people like. When they say Trump supporter, you're like, oh, now I know you're a bad person. Now I know I can just catalog you. It's like that's so shallow for your own life if you just look at one-dimensional. Like I try to see people and see as many different angles in them as possible. It's really good for being a server because like I'll see someone be like, what kind of day are you having? I might not like you, but maybe you're going through maybe I don't like you at first glance, but I can see you're going through a tough day, and I've had a tough day, and I will do everything I can to make your day better. And like just that little train of thought, I don't think enough people do for strangers. You know?
Yeah. And I think that's the reason why things are so polarized, like you said.
Yeah.
It's like, well, like they know you personally, so they know you're a good person. So now they have those conflicting views of Trump supporters are bad, but my friend's a Trump supporter, I really like them. And that's the narrative that I hate so much about friendship and politics.
It
and
is.
I'm about this on my channel, is people unfriend people over politics. I'm like, have you considered that maybe people aren't a bad person just because they oppose you politically?
Or
like
maybe you should consider why you're unfriending them. Is it because you haven't resolved the issue that I'm addressing? Because, and here's the biggest issue I have with just the idea of disagreeing with someone in the first place is like, okay, you and I are doing this live stream right now. And like, let's say someone disagrees vehemently with a point we just made. Doesn't matter which one it was. But they have the option to, and this is almost a plug, comment and say something about it and get us to engage on it. But also it's like, if your gut reaction isn't to say something, if your gut reaction is to recoil and say, unsubscribe, 0 out of 5, 0 out of 10, if all you're going to do is take a step back and lob shots over the wall, it's like, what are you doing to better, not only one, your position, you're not strengthening your position for being right, but two, all you're doing is tarring up the whole conversation.
right.
And so many people prefer to do that than find. I think the biggest issue is people aren't looking for mutual compromise. They're looking to win. They're looking. Well, they're also looking for decisive, an end to the conflict. They're looking for this to be the end. Like, I'm done, you're done, I'm never going to hear of this again. It's like, I look to create another conversation in the future. I want to, all right, we decided this time, but maybe 3 months, like, we haven't talked in a while. It's good that we have so many things that are still on even keel, you know? We still have the same thoughts. But if there was something that you were like, oh, Mike, you're completely off on, like, I forget, there's something about food we disagreed on. I don't know. But it's like, if that happens, that doesn't need to end the conversation, which it does with so many people, like you're saying, unfriending on social media. I just want to address like the triviality of removing a whole form of connection with a person over one moment where that person might have been reasoning something out, or they weren't even 100% sure what they were posting at the time. They were trying to get feedback. It's like, where are people's heads at?
Right.
And when you just run away, you're not actually voting. You're not even adding your voice in the mix.
That's why I try really hard not to block on Twitter.
I try not to either.
The only way I'll block somebody is if they're they're not interested in conversation and they're one of those people that's just trying to get you to react and be provoking.
Right.
Or they're just straight up threatening you, which I had some reporter lady from Kansas City find a tweet about the Kansas City Chiefs, screenshot it, and send it to a guy that I was in a disagreement with, being like, just so you know, she's from Kansas City, which I'm not, so that's great. I just like the Chiefs. But I'm like, really? Over a Twitter disagreement? You're trying to find out where I live from my tweets. You're insane.
Just
like, so those kind of people, I block. I'm like, I'm not even going to give you the time.
Yeah. To me, like when I see that, just real quick, I just see someone that they're they're not mindful of their behavior enough to realize what they're doing is completely malicious, completely unproductive for not only you, but not only them. Like one thing I try to do all the time is like, I'll stop myself. Like when I was going through that tweet real quick, I was just like, this isn't worth my time. I'd rather be focused on the conversation.
Right.
They don't stop. They're like, what can I do to destroy Mac? What can I do to... You gotta like be more conscious of your emotions and just not let it guide you.
I tweet all the time, and I say it just seems like so many people are mad online. Like,
Yeah.
some get on Twitter and they're like, I'm in a bad mood, and then I'm like, sometimes you gotta see a tweet that you don't like,
Yeah.
and you just have to go, that pisses me off. I'm gonna take a step back. My mom has this rule that if something pisses you off, you wait 24 hours and then you respond.
I've heard the same logic. That's smart. It's a smart.
It is so.
Oh, yeah.
For the longest time, I was like, that's dumb. I'm smart enough to reason things out. But there are some things legitimately, I will see them, I'll have an emotional response, and I'll just think, okay, you have to do self-talk. You're having an emotional response. Take a step back. Like, it sounds dumb, but if more people did that, specifically on Twitter, because Twitter rewards outrage.
Yes.
Clearly.
Oh, big time. Well, I'd say in general, outrage is rewarded too often, not just Twitter.
Yeah, on social media, well, and in real life, you're
Yeah,
right.
that's all. I don't want to be exclusive to that.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true, especially in American society for sure. Like, world star. Oh, get it.
Yeah.
So people are.
Well, and the thing is, we even admitted earlier that like you said like the gossip in the news. It's just another version of World Star. You know,
It really is, yeah.
all I'm saying is that I'm a victim of it, a victor. Whatever. I mean, like I fall prey to it. I do it too. Like I understand. It's just like I don't think people are conscious of. I heard the expression information diet, and that like it's literally just a way to phrase things, but it completely changed my perspective on spending time in front of a screen. You know, it's just a subtle perspective shift. But I'm like, you're right. Like I care about like what I eat. Why wouldn't I care about like what I'm reading? Like I'll start reading an article out of like spite, like you said. I'm like, oh yeah, like I was reading that.
With that Franklin guy.
Exactly. You start reading out of like hate, and you like take a step back. You're like, I don't want to be reading this. This doesn't make any sense. Why am I doing this? And I don't know. I don't even remember what point I was trying to make there.
Well, I mean, I don't know. My goal is to, if I tweet something controversial, which I do, I tweet some things I tweet and I'm like,
wait, you tweeting something controversial? Hold on. Sorry. I have to pretend to be shocked, right?
Am I sick? I don't. There are
what is with you?
that I tweet that are controversial, but when I do it, what people need to understand is when I do that, there's a larger point I'm trying to make.
Yes.
And here's the problem. If I say something controversial, I respond and say, what did you mean by this? Or something else people don't do. I think I might be the only person on the internet who reads tweet threads before I respond. Because maybe somebody else asked that question or was outraged in the same way, and that person already responded to the same thing 4 times.
Yeah.
And you're doing the same thing. Like, I get it, if a tweet has like thousands of likes, you can't possibly do that. But my tweets don't get thousands of likes generally. And you can go through if a tweet has 200 likes and kind of, this is what I do with tweets. I'll read through what people were saying, and because like you were saying,
I do it all the time.
Twitter like a conversation.
Yes.
It's not supposed to be, I see this, type, I'm going to type something out. You're supposed to try to get a gauge on
when you get into that typey type, like you said, that mindset, it's not a conversation anymore. It's literally just...
It's reactionary.
You're dumping all your thoughts. You're not getting anything back, and that's... I don't know. It happens too often. That was this point I was going to make. I forgot it was, but...
Yeah.
I don't know.
People just need to simmer down is the larger point.
That really is it. And, I know what I was going to say is like you talked about reading threads. I don't really, I guess, have a name for it, but I guess I'd call it rewarding. Like what I'll do is like anytime I post something on a major thread, like a Donald Trump thread or like something's got like a lot of comments. I will, after I comment, go through and read, like you said, because sometimes I'll do it reactionarily, and then I'll like anyone who had like a point similar to mine. Like, oh, shit, okay. Well, they deserve a like too, because they already said what I said.
Yeah.
But also, like, I look at accounts, because one of the big things is, like, I remember how nervous I was to start, like, when I had, like, 20 followers, when I had 100 followers. And, like, I'll click on people, and, like, I will like them solely on how little followers they are. Like if you have like 1,000, I'm like, you don't need it. But if I see someone who like they have 0 likes for a good point and they have like 100 followers, I'm like just out of principle, because it's just like that little encouragement is like what I got when I had like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's good though. I have a friend who has a anonymous account on Twitter, so I'm not gonna say who it is.
Okay.
But he gets so excited if his tweets get over 10 likes.
Oh yeah.
It warms my heart because he has an anonymous account. Like, he wants to put his opinions out there, but because of work, like, some people legitimately can't do that, as sad as it is, because of their jobs that they have.
Bro, I'm happy when I get 10 likes. like,
and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
People, because I have like almost 17K now, people are always like, oh, blah blah blah, you're just here for the followers. I'm like,
no.
I literally, there are legitimately accounts I follow that have a couple hundred followers. And if it's a person that's responding to me all the time and they're really thoughtful and they like my stuff, I'll follow them back. Like, I don't care if somebody actually DM'd me, I won't say who it was, 2 months ago and asked me, why do you follow 1,500-ish people on Twitter? You can't possibly see all of their tweets.
Well, it's not everyone's tweeting all the time. Well, not everyone's tweeting all the time either.
I'm like, 1, not everybody's tweeting all the time. 2, I do like go to people's accounts that I really enjoy. Like, I never see Eric July's tweets on my thread. I'm pretty sure he's shadow banned. I don't see his.
I just tweeted about this the other day, and I had Dippy, a friend of mine. I mean, I don't know, just someone who follows me. I call everyone friends if I don't like you. If I don't dislike you, you're a friend. We might never met. You know, in my head, you're a friend. But I was just saying, here it is. This is what I tweeted out. I said, I still don't understand why when I look up at someone's following or followers, all the mutuals aren't at the top. There's some randomly when I scroll down. That to me, and I added, are certain people being deprioritized. Because like what I find is like, let's say I'll click on you, you know, and I'll look to see, because I'll actually use other people as like a screening process for like adding new people. Like, if someone's following you, I know it's like, okay, well, they're already like listening to the same conversation I'm listening to. But like what I'll do is I'll click on that and it'll only be a few people at the top, and I'll scroll down further and like someone else that I follow will be like 50 scrolls down or 50 like lists down. I'm like, why is it doing that? It should just send all the mutuals to the top like in every other platform. And is that like intentional? Is that like you're talking about Eric July? I don't see his tweets very often either, but I follow him on YouTube. I know he's making content.
Oh yeah, and he's making content all the time. I know he's tweeting.
I think he's definitely. You talk about people who might be shadow banned. I would agree with you. I would like to see his tweets more often.
Oh, 100%. And I think it's kind of. I know people are being shadow banned, but also I think sometimes people are like, I'm being shadow banned. I'm like, no, you're not. Because people.
I can't claim to be shadow banned. I just don't have much traffic. There's a difference between not having traffic and being shadow banned.
Right. And like, I've had people say that they've been unfollowed from me multiple times.
Yeah, that's a weird one to me.
Where your tweets went, and then they'll go and they've been unfollowed. And I know I didn't unfollow them or like block them and unblock them and get rid of them because they're like a long time follower, and they'll be like, hey, just so you know, I didn't see your. Some people said, I didn't know you got married. I'm like, I posted about it a lot. I don't know why you're seeing that.
That's interesting. I wonder how
Twitter's algorithm is so weird.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, just talking about Twitter in general, what do you think of the stance that they're taking now to not have political ads anymore?
I already tweeted about this, and
I said
people better buckle up for 2020.
That's what I'm saying. I can't wait.
Make no mistake. One, their policy seems like they haven't. I think, are they releasing it today? It might have been they're releasing it now.
I've heard soon. Honestly, okay. I'm not even that excited for it because I don't think it's going to be that insightful.
I will read it, but like you said, I don't think it's going to be that much different than what Jack tweeted in his thread. But from what it sounds like, it will heavily favor incumbent politicians.
Yes.
Because guess what? Incumbent politicians don't have to run a lot of ads for traction on their pages.
Exactly. Well, they have the name familiarity because they've been in office.
They have a brand. People,
yes.
Like Hillary Clinton. Everybody knows who Hillary Clinton is. Even Donald Trump. Everybody knows who that is, hopefully. it's going to heavily favor incumbents, and I can't help but think that maybe there's something in there where they're going to limit a certain type of views with politics and not let those people run ads.
You mean the diversity ones? You mean the ones about women?
Yeah, I don't trust it at all, and I bet Facebook comes out with one really soon as well. And
Yeah,
actually,
I think so too.
journalists are even writing articles now saying, look what Twitter did. Facebook needs to do this too. And I'm like, oh God, here we go. 2020 is going to be a hot mess. I mean, it's going to be a fun ride, but...
Well, and the thing is, it's like, it's almost, the way I look at it this way, is like Twitter, when they're saying like, what are you going to define a political ad as? Because when I know all the edgelords and trolls and meme makers and people, whenever you set a hard boundary, what is the first thing they do? They're like a slime mold. They find the cracks. They test it. And like, I kind of respect them for trying to take a hard line. I understand it, and it's probably the best tactical move they can make for the platform, but it's not going to work the way they think. I'm with you.
Every other policy they've instituted.
Yes.
And on one hand,
they're almost not policies.
Right. Well, on one hand, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and be like, well, maybe they're genuinely trying to improve the platform. But on the other hand, I'm like, this is common sense. If you do not use your own platform, this is not going to work the way that you think it does. And that makes me think, maybe it's purposeful.
I think the funniest thing about Twitter in general is the blue check. It's not even blue check.
The blue check meme?
No, not even the blue check meme. The blue check meme in its own right, but I'm just talking about the concept of blue check in a more objective than subjective sense. It's like, personally for me, I try not to follow any blue checks whatsoever. Like, even people I truly support, it's like, once you're at blue check status, it's like, what are you really tweeting about? I tweet for people like me or similar to me. You know, I'm not looking to talk to celebrities. I'm looking to talk to other people. And that was one of the biggest things I had to change when I did switch to Twitter, is I was thinking Twitter was a place to like tweet at celebrities. And I was like, no, it's not.
Oh, yeah.
It's a place to talk to other people with similar interests.
Right.
And that was one of the biggest paradigm shifts I had to have. And it's...
People, I have also... Okay, so the blue check mark used to work. Because I tried to contact Twitter to get a blue check mark when I made it cosplay Twitter. Because I thought, well, people could take my photos and make a different Twitter. So I consider myself a public figure, whatever. I mean, not that much.
I looked into it way back when, and I was laughably close. So I would imagine you should. You probably could have back in the older guidelines.
But now the only way you can get a blue check is if another blue check refers you.
I know. That's the weirdest concept. That's like...
It's a cult.
That's literally cult shit.
I don't like it. It weirds me out. And I have literally seen accounts with less than 1,000 followers with blue check marks.
Yeah.
And they always have pronouns in them. I don't know what that
Every time.
I'm like, man, maybe I just need to put pronouns in my bio.
I mean, like, I really try to avoid ragging leftism, because I could literally do it every waking second of the day. Like, I could literally just crusade against it. But that being said, is like, I try not to talk about it that often because I understand that I become exactly what I'm projecting. Yeah. Like, I don't think people are cognizant. One of the big things is like the over-the-top MAGA people.
The MAGA peeps?
Yeah. Oh, well, you're better on the nomenclature than I am. I try to be a little more organic and just whatever comes to my head. I'm glad. I mean, really, I'm going to try to remember as much as possible. But like the MAGA peeps, that's a good one because they all follow in like a row.
Yep.
I love it. It's a great name. But that's the thing is whenever I see someone who's over the top about how much they love Trump, I know that I don't love Trump. I love what he's doing. But when you like start to golden calf him, I'm like, you're not that confident on your views and you're overcompensating for it. You know what I mean? And I take that little idea and I wonder how many people do that. And it's just kind of a reminder that no matter how passionate I feel for anything, it's like, don't bother with going too far. It's never going to get you where you want to go.
Exactly. Well,
people see through it so easily too.
I see people who are like, I'll use libertarianism because that's what I'm familiar with.
Fair.
I was that person that was overcompensating because I was a centrist who had just discovered Young Americans for Liberty. Yes. And I was, some people they get into something, they get really excited with it, and they just go down the rabbit hole. And that's admirable. Like, you're discovering a new idea. I understand.
Yeah, I do it all the time still. I haven't learned.
But some people don't, they can't take a step back from that is the problem.
Yeah.
Like that YouTube channel you were talking about. Like, that sounds really cool. Probably check into it later. Probably going to go down a YouTube rabbit hole and it's going to get real crazy later tonight on my Twitter. That's okay. But
I look forward to it.
some people would not take a step back from that, and then they'd like put conspiracy theorists in their bio, and they'd be like, yeah, I'm a professional investigative journalist and blah, blah, blah. And they really don't know anything that they're talking about. They just found this one dude's YouTube channel. Yeah. People do that with libertarianism. Like when I first got into libertarianism, I was like, oh, I know everything, blah, blah, blah. I'm the Constitution and all this. And now I'm like, well, the Constitution is just a piece of paper. But
yeah, that's another thing is like, I respect the Constitution. It is probably one of the greatest uses of pen and paper, as people like to say, ever made. But that being said, it's still not a fucking human being. It's still just thoughts on paper. It's not
get so into it, and they get so mad about it. I'm like, it's just people need to focus more on ideas and not like one physical concepts, but two movements in general. I've always hated the phrase, and I used to use it all the time, like I was talking about liberty movement.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
Like that's just it's important, that we have like-minded people that share our ideas, but like even like the MAGA crowd, like the MAGA peds and stuff, they just get so into, it's just this tendency people have to be in a group, and it's good to feel like you're a part of a group.
It is.
It also can be dangerous if you get into the group think mind of people. And it was so funny. I follow this girl. This is a great example of libertarians being in groupthink.
Yes, it happens too often.
I follow this girl. I don't think we have any common interests. I follow her specifically because one day I saw a tweet of hers on my thread that said, libertarians cannot take jokes, or libertarians aren't funny or something.
What? I find true libertarians are the funniest people I've found on the internet.
Yeah, but if you've ever, I don't know if you've joined any libertarian groups on Facebook, but libertarians are the single easiest demographic. More than leftists, more than anybody else, I swear, they're the easiest to troll. It is so easy.
I could believe that.
And I'm guilty of it myself. It's so some things you tweet about, I'm like, ooh, okay, I gotta type back. They got me. I gotta type something back.
Yeah.
She tweeted something like, libertarians aren't funny, or libertarians can't take a joke. And every libertarian that I followed that were mutuals was quote tweeting her, like harassing her, like, we're funny, blah, 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 blah. And that's why I follow her, because I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
She tweeted a joke and they proved her point and couldn't take a joke, and they were all like,
I'm glad you have an exact example for what I was just trying to say. That's it. It's like, well, here's the one thing, just for tweets in general, I don't look as a tweet, like, it's kind of weird to say. It's like, there's context with my tweet. It's like, if I tweeted the same exact thing you tweeted at the same time, the reaction both of us would have would be different. And even if you want to take reach out of the picture, it's just like what I said before, what I'm going to tweet after, what I've talked about before. It's like there's a context to it that like you're saying, talking about the idea doesn't matter. And so her in particular, if she's like new to the mix and she comes in with this really provocative statement.
Yeah, she didn't know. She's not even libertarian. She doesn't even tweet about politics.
Well, and the point I'm making is like with a quick cursory look at just like whenever I get emotional, I click on someone's profile and I'm like, oh, you just made your account 1 month ago. I wonder if you're trying to be provocative to get people to follow you. And it's like the basic homework you can do.
There are times I have criticized libertarianism as a whole and been like, libertarians can't take a joke or something. And like anarcho-capitalist colors are all over my profile. Like my pinned tweet is me in cosplay.
Yeah.
There's black and gold. If you know anything about libertarian, it's very obvious. I don't have ANCAP in my profile, but I do have Mises, Hoppe, and Rothbard, which if you know anything about libertarianism and have heard those names, you I'm a libertarian. No one would have that in their bio if they weren't. And people will attack me and be like, well, you just don't know anything. You're just a leftist, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, did you even look at my profile? No, you just saw anime profile picture, me in costume, and you just assumed that.
Well,
it's just so silly.
I'll be honest. For me, it's been really cool getting to know you in particular. I don't want to get too sappy, but you were one of the profiles initially that I had that approached you. It's like, I didn't know how to peg you. You had some good thoughts, but then I saw the cosplay, and it was a weird juxtaposition for me.
Yeah.
And then to like just learn more and like to go through those waves of like we're describing misunderstandings when certain people take things too literally, to like watch those go over and watch people fall to the wayside. I'm like, this is cool. This is like how it should be.
Well,
you should stick around to see what's going on.
It's funny for the people. I have had people legitimately tell me on a lot of the live streams that I do, actually, they'll be like, we're not going to lie, when we first started following you, we were like, oh, it's just the e-thought, blah, blah, blah.
That was my thought, I'll be honest. I wasn't sure.
I like the challenge of that with people.
Yeah.
And that's why my profile picture is cosplay and not me and a political thing anymore. Because that juxtaposition, and even what...
I think I told you last time I recommend it. I'm all about being as paradoxical as possible, just to mess with people.
Because I want to get people thinking, and even if it's as stupid as somebody coming to my profile and being like, okay, and dismissing me, and then seeing a tweet and be like, wait, what'd she say about this? Like, that's really weird.
Yeah.
I wonder what she actually thinks about that. I like that, and I kind of like when people...
It's kind of a filter, too.
I like assumptions, as stupid as that is, because I find assumptions to just be challenges to me. Well, you think I'm just tweeting this to get male followers. Oh, well, what if I'm actually like doing this because I have a brother and a dad and an uncle?
Well, and here's where I would go a bridge further. If I was talking for your point of view, I would say this. So what if I am? So what if I am? Yeah. Capitalism, I'm doing exactly like, I mean, obviously I'm just kind of jokingly throwing out capitalism, but that's the idea. It's like, I'm going to use every marketable trait I have available to me. And if you're going to shame me out of it because, say, you don't have the capability, you don't have the courage, regardless, that's on you. That's not on me. Like,
well, right. It's so funny. Somebody the other day who ended up blocking me, my followers thought this was hilarious that have been following me for a long time. Because they're like you. They kind of labeled me as that at the beginning, and then once they were following me for a while, they were like, okay, wait a second. This isn't what I thought it was. Some guy was like, you're just a fundamentalist Christian, blah, blah, blah. And while I am Christian, I told him, and I was like, yeah, I'm really fundamentalist in my skin bodysuits, buddy.
Right.
Like, oh, guys, you got me. You just hit the nail on the head there. Like, it's like some people make fun of me, and they're like, oh, yeah, she's so trad. She wears skin-tight bodysuits. I'm like, I have never claimed to be traditional. Now, do I have more traditional views on relationships and stuff like that? Sure, absolutely. But I've never...
And might people see that as hypocritical if they don't understand your point of view?
Exactly. So most of the...
They might.
It's amusing. Most of the complaints that I get about hypocrisy from me are just people that don't understand and never cared to ask, which is true with most people, I feel like.
Well, and I think, like... This kind of brings it back to like the mode of communication we're having right now. It's the Joe Rogan, the long form conversation, and that's why for me in particular is like I just know I have to stick with this for a while. I like doing it and just getting better at it, but you are a majority of your communication is not through the long form. It's through the short lens. It's the tweet lens, and you don't have that luxury. You have to have your profile picture, your bio. You only have a couple things for when that person's actually learning about your idea, as opposed to having a full conversation.
And that's why I love going on this. And people have actually in private been like, well, why are like I've been on Zuby's podcast, which is amazing.
You've been on Zuby's?
Yeah.
Oh, I still need to see his Joe Rogan. Like, I'm so far behind on everything.
You have to watch his Joe Rogan episode. It's amazing. I'm not going to fangirl, though.
Hotep Jesus, though, was so good.
I love...
He's one of my favorite people on Twitter, by the way. Zuby's right up there, too.
Yeah. I'm lucky enough to be followed by both of them, because what they do on Twitter is just... I feel like they're using the platform the proper way.
Oh my gosh, they understand it. And here's one thing, I will make a confession. I am a racist. I'm a reverse racist. When I see black men killing it out there, I do feel the need to support them more than I would a white person doing it. That is definition racism, but yeah, I do. I'm like, damn, you have great ideas. You're killing it. You got dreads on and you're rocking your racial roots. Go for it, man. I love it. Like, it's funny for me to see certain trad cons, I don't know how you want to put it, get so upset over him, them. I'm like, stay in your own lane. That's his lane. Let him love his African roots. If you have a problem with someone making themselves more unique and less cookie cutter, then you are not the kind of person I want to have around. I want everyone to be as unique as possible.
I actually find people
within reason.
People like Hotep Jesus and people like, I follow this girl Morgan Chambers, I want to say.
That sounds familiar for some reason.
She also has like, it's been so great to watch her journey on Twitter because she's been a lot like Hotep Jesus, like tweeting about like the Black identity and stuff like that.
I'm not seeing Morgan Chambers.
The reason I love her is because she started out as just like your run-of-the-mill conservative, and now she's really like talked about Black issues and been like, I don't want to say Black identitarian, but yeah, kinda, and I don't have a problem with that. Well, but it's been funny to see all the conservative MAGA boomers every time she tweets something about like, you know, comparing Black to white issues. The white, like, MAGA boomers get so offended. And I'm like...
That's what annoys me the most about taking that stance from the MAGA boomer, whatever that angle is, that energy. When you're coming from that point of view, do you just never want to have the conversation? The way I look at it is like this. If this person is elbow to elbow, shoulder to shoulder with me on a lot of issues, and they're finally like, hey, this is a little uncomfortable for me, let's talk about it. And, like, my first reaction is like, ew, no, why, like...
I can't believe you would say that. Oh my God. It's like some of the things I have tweeted, I'm trying to make a larger point, but
I see a larger agenda and I love it. I respect it.
It's just outrage. And I feel like Rose does the same thing. Like sometimes I see a tweet of his, I'm like, I see what you're doing.
Oh yeah.
I see what you're doing, and I just kind of sit back and enjoy the show because it's just so entertaining.
Well, and my favorite thing about him in particular is he'll even like my favorite thing he does in general is anytime he has something go viral or a video or a spike, he'll just I think it's just reactionary for him now. It's probably just part of his behavior. He's like, well, gonna have to lose a few followers. He tweets that like all the time. Anytime he has any bump in reach or following, he's instantly like, well, gonna have to trim. And I that's such a smart thing to do. Is like, it's a way to challenge your followers. I really think that's the thing is like, when I had a few followers, I was like inching. I wanted to get to 100. I wanted to get to 200. I didn't care who it was. And then I started realizing that I had dumb people following me, people I didn't want following me. And I realized like sometimes I have to just be honest and vulnerable and like I might lose followers for this, but it's better off in the long run. He does that all the time. I love it.
I think that's the best way. I think that's why I've grown my Twitter is because I do that too. Like,
hell yeah.
For me, the topic that really, I've attracted a lot of like older, like maybe 30 to 50-year-old conservative dudes. And a lot of times that demographic, they're like super pro police, like they're in line, like you should hit your kids and teach them discipline and like really harsh. So I tweeted about how I would never spank my kids and all that kind of stuff. It's just so funny to just see them like their gears are turning. They're like, wait, I agree with this girl on a lot of stuff. I can't deal with this or my cosplay. Like I have a lot of anime right friends that are like down with the ethos, report them to the IRS. And then I like link my Ko-Fi donation link and they're like, you know what? I'm okay with that. But I try to challenge what I know I try to like gauge what my largest demographic is every month and try to see like what tweets did good and whatever. And then off of that, I try to like pick a topic so like a lot of my controversial tweets, quite honestly, are just trying to get rid of followers.
No, I get that.
It's funny when people are like, well, you just care about follow count. That's why you're outraged tweeting. I'm like, no, I'm culling the herd. You mentioned Morgan Chambers. I don't know her. I actually tried to look her up. But you said something that really struck me. You said, I've loved watching her journey on Twitter. Yeah. And the thing is, it's like, I also see my own journey. And so sometimes, like you said, you sit back and watch the show. Like, when I watch people going into outrage thing, I look back myself, I'm like, oh, I remember when I was, kind of no offense to these people. Like, I remember when I was there. I remember when I hadn't learned the lesson of not
Okay. I when I didn't learn these lessons, before I learned the lessons, that I'm getting baited, you know?
Yes.
And it's like, I understand you probably want to get over, like I did at least. It's like whenever I was getting triggered, I was like, I want to be triggered less. What do I got to do? Oh, I need to read into it more. Oh, now I need to read people's bios. Oh, I need to look who they're following. It was like, I learned those things organically because I understood I was becoming exactly what I laugh at now.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And that's the journey of growth on Twitter, and a lot of people just don't do that. And it's really unfortunate. But when I see people,
and people who aren't on Twitter, I tell them I'm on Twitter, and like that's a red flag for some non-Twitter people. Like, oh, you're still on Twitter? I heard it's toxic nowadays. I'm like, only if you're in the wrong settings. Like,
well, and not even just like the wrong settings. There's a right way and a wrong way.
No, that's kind of what I mean. Yeah, the environment you create for yourself.
If you're constantly, and this is really dumb and cheesy, but tweets only have as much power as you give them.
That's true. Yep.
Like my tweets that people consider controversial, I don't even consider controversial, because if I saw that, I might take it personally, but I'd be like, okay, what is this person trying to do?
Yeah.
And I just think I've been on the internet long enough that I just understand it a little bit more. And
yeah. Some
people who claim to understand the internet, I don't think really do, based on what they get angry by. Because
the more I understand about the internet, the more I understand that I have so much more to learn. You know, that's kind of, I was talking about cheesy. That's a cheesy line, but it's true. Yeah. The moment I think I got it figured out is the moment I'm getting too complacent. I got to make sure I'm keeping it up.
You'll see some of the things that even bigger accounts get outraged about, and sometimes I'll just think, that's just a meme. How did you not know that was a joke?
Well, like the Jim Acosta thing that I showed earlier. Yeah. To me, is a perfect example. It's like, Jim, you are a journalist. How are you? Like you said, it's like, is he intentionally playing us? Like,
right. Am I being trolled?
Right. Like, what is realistically, is Jim just trying to get more reach? Is he trying to play dumb to? If so, that's a good tactical move.
God, I hope so, because that was very sad.
A White House official said, quote, "The dog is not at the White House."
Oh my gosh.
Jim, I hate you, but I want to respect you more than this.
I want to think that he knows what's going on, but I don't think he does.
I don't know.
I think journalists in general are just so out of touch with normal people that...
Well,
I tweeted the other day.
Are you paying attention to the Kotaku, the Deadspin firings and the strike and everything? I mean, I'm actually kind of I'm paraphrasing exactly what he said, so I'm taking his point. I didn't do the digging, but he said that it's showing the narcissism of these journalists, that they are leaving because they don't get to say what they want, not what they're getting paid to do. And if that is the case, I agree with him completely. It's like, if you're striking or quitting or getting fired or whatever for not doing what you're getting paid to do, that's how it should be. That's the way it works. That's the way hiring and firing people works, is you're not getting paid to do what you want. That's why we have a free market system where if you have something you want to do, create your own platform, do your own thing. But like, it's the narcissism of journalists that's like, well, I shouldn't have to. I'm entitled to these benefits. I'm entitled to this system. I'm entitled to this platform. And it's so fragile. That whole learn to code meme, that whole episode was
a perfect example of a coastal elitism, and
that was one of the worst.
Journalists just think, and all journalists, I'm not just talking leftists, there are some conservative publications where I just go, what were you thinking publishing that, and why do you think that no one's going to call you out on that?
That's, to me, Daily Wire is one of those. I know they're like one of the newer ones and everything. I have a hard time. I'd rather just not have it.
Publications that they're using the same leftist tactics that they write about being bad.
Yes, and the funny thing is, I get angry because sometimes I catch myself. I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, oh shit, they're doing it to me. They're doing it to me. There's a part of me that wants them to be right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a lesser form of me.
And journalists, they just think they're a protected class, and they're not.
Yeah.
I mean, they might theoretically be. They think they are, and they're being treated like so, but they shouldn't be, in my opinion. And I could go on a whole rant about journalists, but I
Yeah.
tweeted the other day, I'm like, I'm so glad I never fell down the rabbit hole of like writing for libertarian publications or conservative publications because I do not want to be a journalist in this day and age. I don't even want to be
No.
associated with the profession.
Well, I apologize. I at least need to take a brief intermission unless you want to cut it short. I'm fine with doing an intermission. Realistically, we're live. I apologize to any people who are now watching the stream. I'm really not keeping account on the numbers. But to address you all, I have a new service that should be routing any comments on any platform to my Discord server. I will put a link in shortly. But if you want to comment any questions, we can answer them. Mac, do you need an intermission for a second, or you want to kind of cut it off? Where are you at?
I mean, I have time if you want to talk more. We can take a little intermission.
Yeah, I got to take an intermission myself. I was having people knocking at my door. So I'm going to mute my mic, and we'll take like 5, say. Whatever.
Okay.
All right, I'll be right back. I'm just going to leave the stream going. I can clip it. I can clip it out later. I apologize for anyone. We'll be back in 5. Ooh. Still going strong. I asked her, I was like, do you want to end or do you want to just take a break? So, drinking milk. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That was early. That was early on. Living my diet sounds like? All right. Well, I'm back. Looks like you just got back yourself. Perfect timing.
Yep, I'm back.
All right. So, I'm not sure. I can kind of take this second to see if anyone... I wasn't really in the YouTube stream or anything to see if there was any chats there. So... Oh, Carl gets... I'm not sure. Carl, he said, hello, happy Friday to you both. Hello, Carl. I guess that is a good test to know that my Discord bot is not working.
Oh, no.
I mean, I really haven't tested it. I set up a Discord channel to everyone. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to go look up the link. I'll post the link later. But to anyone who's enjoying the stream, my goal is to have one central location to have a conversation because I'm currently live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So I wanted to have one place where anyone who wants to ask a question, wants to get involved in the conversation, can join in. So I guess I'll post that link here in a second. But What was the last thing we were on? We were talking pretty much about how to use Twitter for a while.
We were talking about journos.
Oh yeah, journos is the last thing we were saying. Yeah. Well, that's kind of one of the things. It's like being on Twitter makes everyone their own journo to a point. Like,
oh, don't say that. You're ruining my fantasy of never being a journalist.
Yeah, you are. Well, the joke that I heard was when I first started doing these interviews is I was going down to record one and my dad was just like, he said like a passing comment like, "Oh yeah, go be a journalist or something." I was like, "What?" And like it was one of those one-off things he said that it like stuck with me. And I was like, I guess this kind of like doing these interviews kind of is journalism. He made me feel like a little girl with like a hairbrush going, and what do you think about the weather? Like, that's how I felt like after he said it. But I'm like, I guess it's kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, being a journalist is just someone like taking their thoughts and putting it out there, seeing who agrees with it. And I guess if that's the definition of what a journalist is, I guess you could say I am, and a lot of people on Twitter are.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in a way, interviewing people or like chatting with you long form, like Joe Rogan or a podcast like this, or any podcast really that interviews people. I guess that's basically what you're doing, or a better use of it, honestly, than what a lot of modern journalists are doing. It would be really interesting if like even like these leftist journalists like started doing podcasts instead of writing their clickbait articles. I would watch, like if Jim Acosta did podcasts, I'd watch that. It'd be hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's the thing is it's like some of them have flirted with the idea. Like I know the one who got burned the worst was Elizabeth Warren, but it sounds like AOC actually has a decent live stream audience for her stuff. Like
yeah.
I know they were trying to burn her at first, but I'll give the woman credit that she just kind of kept on trudging through, and apparently she's still doing live streams all the time.
Yeah, she does them on her Instagram, I think.
Okay, well, that would make sense. I have my own issues with Instagram. I find it a very mindless platform.
Yeah, I have stopped using it, actually, in large part. I used to post like 2 or 3 times a week, and now I find myself posting maybe once a month. I need to get back to it just because of costuming, but I was finding it hard to just, I don't know. Now that I use Twitter so much, I'm actually talking to people. It does seem like just a totally different kind of platform. I don't know if I like it, but.
You talking about Twitter or
Instagram?
Instagram. Yeah, I actually just deleted my Instagram off my phone. I was using it completely personally. I wasn't even trying to use it with the same, I guess, brand you could call this podcast I do. I wasn't trying to integrate them at all. And I just find it so vain in general. The whole layout, the whole way it's designed is very, there's a high level of vanity to it, I find. And
yeah, I can agree with that.
Take it for what it's worth. Like if it's very good for marketing, like I've listened to people say what it can do for brands and everything, but it's just like, it's not what I'm looking to do myself.
Right. Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, have you found it's helping you out? Are you trying to stay in it or not so much or?
I might now that I am gonna start up cosplaying again. I kind of took a short hiatus because of all the life stuff that was going on, but
I feel that. Well deserved, by the way.
It's really hard to. It's hard to grow. Because it has Facebook's algorithm, and I don't know if you know this, but yeah. Facebook pages are almost impossible. Like, my cosplay page has almost 30,000 likes, and it barely gets like 100 likes on things unless you buy ads, and I'm not going to buy ads.
Yeah.
So I used to, like, maybe put a buck or two towards a post that was already doing well, maybe like once or twice a month on my cosplay Facebook page. But it's just, when Facebook changed the algorithms, and it's not like in chronological order, and
I don't remember who it was. I remember hearing one of the people who worked on the initial Facebook and Instagram itself. I think it's actually a high-profile person. I can't remember if he was on a podcast I was listening to or something, but he just outright said, he's like, when we made it, it was a bad... I'm trying to think who it was, because he said we bought it from some kids who essentially made like a bare bones project, and it just took off. And just from a pure coding and design, and this is where I'm showing my lack of experience, my lack of knowledge here, but from just a design standpoint, you should scrap it and start over again. Like, you should have started scrapped it way before it blew up into what it is now. But it's like, it suffers from just being, it's almost like the floppy disks for the nuclear program. That apparently the story going around this week is like, we just changed our floppy disks from 50 years ago for nuclear. Did you hear that story?
No.
That was a joke. It was like a joke story, but apparently it's true that we had floppy disks that were still saving some of the coding for the security on the nuclear stuff, and we just the nuclear warhead storage, I believe. I didn't really look into it that much because I didn't really care.
Wow.
But the whole concept is like Instagram's the same way. It's like, if you could restart it over again, apparently there's a ton of things they would change. Like the entire layout, the entire way, like you said, the algorithm, the way things are run are just not ideal for what it's even trying to do. It's kind of like a master of none. It's not really good at anything either. It's like, it's not even a jack of all trades. It's literally, it's bad at the one thing it tries to do, but it's popular. And I don't think people are really going to jump ship anytime soon. Like, what are the alternatives in the like picture side of things? There's like Tumblr, which that fell apart. Okay, and then like Pinterest is kind of its own thing, which is doing well, but it has its own niche.
I was forced to start using a Pinterest when we were planning the wedding because everyone's like, get on Pinterest. And I'm like, okay, I don't really get it.
Yeah.
But it's weird. You're right. It has got its own little people that use it. I think it's moms. My mom loves Pinterest.
Yeah, I was about to say Pinterest is a very mom thing, and I
crafters and like knitters and like photographers and stuff like that. Like they love to get on there and pin things and work on design.
And I don't even say that personally from like a bad point of view.
No,
it's you know, I'm glad you have it, but it's kind of like that same thing we were talking about cosplay and wrestling. It's just like, that's their niche, that's their thing, that's their what they do, and I'm glad they have a platform to do it. It's one of the biggest things in the internet culture in general is like walking in on some place that it's not your territory and feeling the need to mess things up. It's like, I've never understood that. That's, I mean, unless I'm out there being malicious, which I do from time to time, there's really no purpose to it, you know? I'm an asshole sometimes. But only when I think people deserve it. But, you know, realistically, it's... I don't understand, like... I see, like, people, like, they'll do, like, a woodworking stream or something. It's like, maybe it's not the most. But realistically, all I should do is go, it's not for me, and walk away. And when people feel the need to be like, this is dumb, that's, like, the dumbest comment you could possibly do.
It's like I found, since we moved into a house, I, like, have all my own cookware and stuff. Right. So I will, like, look up recipes and stuff. And I discovered a whole side of YouTube I did not know existed.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like all these moms who have cooking channels. It's amazing. All these like old ladies and like, middle-aged to elderly women, they have cooking channels, and some of them have like thousands and thousands of subscribers, and they just get to cook, and they're their own little Rachel Ray on YouTube, and it's awesome.
I look at YouTube almost like its own Wikipedia for like how-tos and things like that. I mean, I was just working on I bought a used car. Very Midwest thing to do here. I bought a used car, and I took out... Had a new car. You've never had a new car?
No, I always buy used cars.
Okay, well, then you're just as Midwest as I am.
It's Midwest. It's a Midwestern thing, I guess.
I'll dox myself here. I got a 2003 Accord, and I took out all the... I don't care. I really don't care. I'll take out the old stereo in it, and I put everything in. But like I watched one separate YouTube video for how to take everything out properly, and then I watched another YouTube video how to wire everything properly. But I'm just like, I wonder who the saints are that are like, I know how to do this real well. Let's get a camcorder. And it's always like Uncle Jeb in his back lot. He's got like a million cars out there, and they're all getting worked on. Yeah, I sometimes I want to know the backstory, but like the whole Alice in Wonderland thing, it's like, I don't need to know. I just need to know that it showed me how to get the job done. But I get curious. I'm like, how many other videos do you do this for every version of the Accord? Like I have a 2003. Like, do you do this every time they do another one? And I'm just glad that there's people out there who do that. They feel the need to make sure if someone needs advice on something, they have it out there and they do a good job. I think there's plenty of bad ones out there too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but that's like, somebody asked me, I got a question on some other live stream I did a few months ago, and they were like, my daughter or my wife or something wants to start cosplaying. What do you suggest? Where do we
Mm,
start? And I was like, oh, congratulations. This is the best time period to start cosplaying.
yeah,
There's tutorials for everything and
yeah,
everything. You don't have to go to like some shady forum on the internet either.
yeah.
Like go on Twitter, like, and a lot of cosplayers actually that are more famous and have Patreons and stuff. Every cosplay they do live streams of it on Twitch while they're making it, or so you can
Well,
see what they're doing or
and the
stuff like
funny
that.
thing is, it's like easy to talk to. Well, I'm just comparing it to like further times. It's never been easier to talk to a master of a craft you're trying to master. Like
Yeah.
it's never been more easy in human history to the more special your skill is, the more whatever it is, the more specific your goal is, the easier it is to find someone who's very good at it and hell meet up with them. Like the meetup apps and everything is like if you have one thing you like in particular, that was the one thing in Chicago was like I tried a few meetups there. Some of them were really weird, but it's like I'm glad that people are able to do that. They're able to find
Yeah.
like-minded people.
Yeah.
But that is the one limiting thing about Twitter. It's kind of like the interpersonal thing is kind of missed sometimes. It's I just want to address like the whole anon thing. I mean, you show your face loud and proud. I do the same. I share my name. I don't really care. I mean, it might come to bite me in the ass one day, but that's something I'm willing to take. But the liberties taken by certain anons, it annoys me sometimes as not being one. But I'm learning how to deal with them better than before. I don't know. Do you run into issues with anons being a little more having a little too much putting a little too much dip on their chip?
What do you mean? Like
They
they're anonymous, so they feel like they can say things because
yeah,
they're
that's exactly what I mean.
not really.
No,
I mean, almost all of my like anime right friends are anon accounts. Like I don't know what their faces look like. I know them by which waifu they have in their as their profile picture. Um, but I mean, I do get like the random, like those are like people that I talk to on a regular basis.
oh yeah, no. I'm not talking. I'm only talking about random anons. I'm only talking about random anons. Okay. I want to start off by saying I understand the concept of being a non. I'm not ragging on being a non. I understand why you would. I understand. Not even that's not an issue. I'm saying when you're an anon and you're in a stranger anon account, anonymous account for anyone.
Yeah.
When you have a picture of I don't know when you have a picture of Fight Club as your profile picture and stuff like that. It's like that. I understand what you're doing, but if you're going to come at me in an argument and that's all you got, no, I will take the low road on you and I will call you out for being a non. It's
I do find that random accounts definitely feel more bold, I think because they're anonymous or they have like a pseudonym that they go by or something.
exactly.
But also, I don't know. I used to maybe take shots at them a little bit more than I like back if they were doing it to me more.
Yeah.
But I have a pretty strong opinion that once, and they will try to do it, mark my words, once anonymous accounts, they try to make them unavailable on the internet. Like once they try to make it so everything you say, your face, your name, and everything about you is attached to it, which they're going to try to do eventually. That's going to be the final step of if they try to do censorship and stuff like that.
I'm sorry.
Get you fired and stuff.
I'm not following you entirely.
So, I mean, like, there's been pushes to try to research ways to make it so that nobody can anonymously post on the internet, and it would be quite a task. Like, don't get me wrong.
No, 100%.
It's not close in the future, but
No.
I think that's why anytime anyone takes shots at like, oh, well, you're just an anonymous account, so I don't agree. Either they just dismiss what they're saying, or they're like, oh, well, you're anonymous, so you're a wimp because you won't show your face. I'm like, I don't know. I think anonymous accounts, even the ones that are pretty prickly, which a lot of them are, that are random strangers that interact with people's Twitter.
Yeah, that's more what I was referring to in the beginning.
Yeah. Even the prickly ones, sometimes they get me and I just don't respond. But they kind of remind me, like, it's kind of important to be able to do that. Like, if I wanted to, I should be able to make an anonymous Twitter and just, respond to people and say what I want to say. And I do think a lot of people use it to say things that they wouldn't say with an account attached to their face. Don't get me wrong, that people absolutely do that.
Yeah. Well, for me in particular, not being a non, is it's like to say some of the things that I do is it's like I understand I am taking the responsibility. I am taking the full brunt of the thoughts I have. And maybe I might get Kevin Harted in a decade, whatever. It's like the thing is I mean, I look at that and I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of that scenario. If I'm living in a world where that is still going to mean something against me, there's enough wrong with it. It's like that's going to be the least of my worries. My tweets in 2018, 16, 19, 20 are going to be the least of my worries if I can't say what I feel at that time on the platform.
I agree with that. And I mean, I have a friend who is in IT.
Okay.
And he had an anonymous account where he would post anime lewds. We'll just put it that way.
Lewds?
And like anime titties, basically.
Oh, okay.
And it's
like full frontal anime?
Yeah, like naked anime.
Yep.
And like it's just art, whatever, who cares? It's called hentai and it's art, as the office quote is. But his @name was Titty Hunter. And he got in an argument with somebody about politics, and they doxed him and called his work. And the HR lady had to read the name Titty Hunter and show him his photos.
This is what you did wrong.
Is this you? Did you post this photo? And it's like a naked anime girl, and he's like, yeah. Like, what's wrong with that? Like, it's just art. Like, and I find that hilarious, but also really sad that somebody just tried to find out who this anonymous account is and contacted their job, and now their job's looking at all the anime boobs that they posted. It's just hilarious to me, but also sad, like I said. But
it's that's that type energy we were talking about before. That.
Type.
Yeah, that type. I gotta go get this person no more job. Get them out of the picture because they said something I didn't like.
Yeah, and that's stupid.
Or posted something I don't like.
I don't care. I don't support getting anybody fired or doxing anyone pretty much under any circumstance, to be completely honest with you. Because I've been doxed before. But
yeah, you told me about that last time, I think.
I just can't imagine just over words on the internet. Like, I hate to sound like a boomer, but like there's just words on the internet. Like Tyler, the Creator, that famous tweet, cyberbullying. Just close your computer. Like, turn off your computer. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Just turn it off. It's a screen. Turn it off.
Yeah. Well, I'd be careful, Mac. You're kind of turning into a boomer.
I know.
Just know that.
I can't wait to turn 30 so that I can be a 30-year-old boomer properly.
There you go. I was about to say, I just don't want you to take it. I want to make sure the transition's graceful for you. You take it in stride.
Listen, if I start becoming a MAGA-pede, you let me know, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think you could, based off what I know. I think it would eat you alive every day.
I couldn't. I would just eventually just disappear off Twitter because I wouldn't be able to handle it anymore.
I mean, I had hashtag MAGA in my bio for quite a while, but...
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like, I don't know, I try things. I just try things every now and then. I don't know. See what it's like. I mean... I found that the reason I did the MAGA thing is I found I do associate better with Trump supporters. And I figured if I'm like adding people and they have nothing to go off of, I would rather do MAGA. Like I was trying to think of what's the rallying banner I could use. I was like, that's not a bad one, it's...
Well, that gives people a general idea at least.
Yeah, and then I got rid of it I don't remember how recently, but it was insincere. And realistically, I wasn't doing enough to promote my podcast. So that's the other thing. I need more space in my bio.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But when I've seen so many people where all their entire bio is every hashtag they can think of. Like,
I know.
Trump 2020, Trump 2044, Trump 2024. Like, everything is just, I'm like, when... I say this about gay people. I say, if being gay is the most interesting aspect or the only topic you have a conversation, if being a Trump supporter is the only topic of conversation you have, you are limiting yourself as a person.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I say things like that and people get upset. I'm like, there's no reason to be upset. I'm actually saying you are more than you're giving yourself credit for. Don't get angry.
You're like we talked about, you're more than a one-dimensional human being. Like, there's other things about you. Like, that might be an important aspect. But,
very much.
You know, yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm the same way. That's why when people are like, I find it anytime anyone's multifaceted with stuff, like Eric July gets this a lot because he talks about comics, and people are like, why don't you just shut up and get back to comics when he talks about politics? And he's like, because I do other things. Like,
exactly.
Just do one thing.
Well,
I don't wake up in the morning and think, okay, I'm gonna. I don't even have any paper for.
It's funny actually. There's one gaming YouTuber I only watch anymore. Well, two, I guess. But there's one game I follow. It's my guilty pleasure. It's the only game I play anymore. And the thing is, it's such a niche game. Like, you're already in the small community of people who play one game in particular. And then this streamer, within that small community, there's people get upset. They're like, well, you're not playing this way or you're not doing that way. I'm like, guys, there's not many people. Like, your opinion doesn't matter that much. Just let the guy do what he wants to do. You know, it's funny, like these communities get so small, but it's almost like people understand how small it is and they overplay their influence on whether it's content creation, the conversation, whatever's guiding future behavior. Like, they think they have more influence than they do, and I'm like,
it's like
don't.
When everybody tweets you and they're like, I'm unfollowing when you tweeted something.
It's like, I didn't need to know. I didn't need to know. Yeah. I respect the people who don't tell me they follow me and unfollow me. Like, I respect those people, in and out, the spinning door kind of people. It's like, just because you follow me doesn't mean you need to stick around. We've already said that. It's like, I don't know. We've gotten on Twitter for quite a while. Wasn't there? We never talked about Jesus is King.
Oh my God.
We've been waiting. That's been sitting in the chamber for quite a while. So, I mean, what's your take on it? I mean, I really like Kanye. I'll leave it there.
Sorry, I coughed there.
You're good.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of criticism from people being like, whoa, like, okay, he might watch the stream and he might be mad that I said this.
Oh.
But I have a follower that, like, DM'd me and was like, is this about Kanye? Talking about one of my other tweets about, like, fake Christians or something, about Christian hypocrisy. And I was like, no. And he's like, whoa, he's still just a rapper and his wife's a whore. And I'm like, dude, calm down. Oof, calm down. Why are you so mad about Kanye? I don't understand. But, so I've seen this all over, like, oh, he's not really Christian. He can't just, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, first of all, I don't care. It's a good album. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, it's just opinion. I don't care. If people didn't enjoy it, I'm like, okay, that's fair. Like, the tracks were kind of short. It was built up a lot, and then it was really
I mean, there's definite criticisms about it. I like the album, and I can acknowledge there's plenty of criticism for it.
Yeah, sure. But, like, these people that are like, oh, he's fake Christian, it's not a real gospel album, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's like we've talked about this whole time. People just take things too seriously.
Well, it's also expectations. They wanted this album, and this is what he gave them. And it's like...
And I find it refreshing, the album, because anybody that knows about Kanye knows about the extreme mental health stuff he went through when his mom died.
Yes. Well, not...
808s and Heartbreak album is so good. Because it was when he was going through all that stuff with his mom dying and before he got together with Kim and all that stuff and mental health stuff. And he just genuinely, I don't know him. It could be an act. He's in Hollywood, so maybe he can put on a front.
For the Christianity side?
Huh?
For the Christianity side of things, or?
Just for, like, the Christianity.
Yeah.
He genuinely, this past year, seems like a happier human being. In
Yes! Oh, that's, to me, like, I've watched his interviews and everything, and, like, I don't mind saying it, part of my stream is a mental health thing. I was diagnosed bipolar 3 years ago. And so for me, there is a legitimate, like, imprinting of identity with me and Kanye's. Like, he went through, like, a bipolar episode. I went through bipolar episode. So part of me roots for him to root for myself, too, in some weird way, And it's like, for me to see him happy, for me to see him creating what I thought was a great album, it's like, I feel like I'm cheerleading myself and someone else who's going through a lot of same issues I am,
Exactly. Well, and
it's like...
Even if he is putting up a front and he's
Right.
just like releasing that because, you know, he's gotten more into, you know, the conservative side of things. So even if he's like pandering a little bit with this album and that's what he's doing, listen, he genuinely seems like he's happier, so I'm not even mad about it.
Well, and I think the funniest thing is how much shame people throw on some of the details of like the whole asking the producers of the album to refrain from premarital sex.
Right.
Like, if that's such an issue you're going to get hung up on, first off, to me, that's a non... If, let's say we are Twitter curators, journalists, that's a non-story to me. That's a nothing burger. That's not even something to report on.
Well, like, for example...
But it was all over. I saw it everywhere.
The closed on Sunday. You my Chick-fil-A.
I thought that was kind of sweet.
People are focusing on the Chick-fil-A, and this man wrote a song about protecting your daughters from sexual assaulters and teaching your sons how to be good men.
Yes.
And you want to focus on the fact that he said Chick-fil-A in the song.
Keep away from the vipers. Yeah, like the whole thing is about... you miss the whole point. Like, making an issue out of those things just goes to show people's ignorance to it.
Yeah,
like,
you don't realize... And like maybe I'm looking into it too deep, but I don't know. I feel like anybody.
I'm good at that.
Kanye has been such a figure in pop culture since I was in middle school.
Oh,
so
same here. Same here.
To see him go through this evolution, and
I didn't even really like him at first. He was a pop sensation for me. I didn't have until, like you said, until 808s and Heartbreak, until I really saw the human side of him. Because love him or hate him, Kanye shares how he feels through his art.
Also,
that's what makes him good.
What people are not realizing about Kanye is, and I'm not even like a super fan, like you said. I know like 808s and Heartbreak. I really like that album because I was like coming into teenage years when that came out. I was like, yes, like angsty, like. Well,
my first album I had for Kanye that I liked was my Dark, Beautiful, Twisted Fantasy. That was my first like album. That was the first album he released after I had declared myself a fan. Because 808s had already been out when I was like, 808s was the one that I kind of went into and was like feeling them out. And then that was the first one I got excited for. I was like, okay, this is my first one. But like, I didn't think Yeezus was all that good. I didn't like Life of Pablo at all.
Yeah, I didn't like that one either.
I thought
it's gonna be like, oh my god.
Yeah, I really don't care. Like Ye, I thought was better than both of those actually. And I didn't think Ye was all that great, really. But
what people, I think, don't realize about Kanye is he's an insane producer.
Insanely good producer.
Like, I was literally looking up an artist that I heard her on the radio, looked her up, looked at her Wikipedia, and in her Wikipedia it said produced by Kanye. And I'm like, what? Like, he produced
He works very hard at producing music, from what I understand.
Insane. Yeah, and I can see, like, having, like, mental health stuff and working that hard, like, that dude works, and like, people are making fun of him, like, oh, we're tweaking these few songs, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm sure he's a perfectionist when it comes to that kind of stuff, so I don't even mad.
It goes back to that, like, YouTuber expectation. It's like, because you have a fan base and everything, it's like, you assume... It's this expectation thing. When I look at an artist, any kind of artist, whether it's music, movie, anything, it's like, take your time. I am a bystander that is lucky enough to purchase your service, to watch your service, to like be in the presence of it. It's this entitlement that like we as consumers, we're just lucky enough to get the product some of the time. It's the bad artists that if you can sway an artist you support with your petty opinions, chances are they're not a genuine artist in the first place. You know, they're your they're your Hillary Clintons of art.
There are like legitimately people who I've been like going through stuff, like, so it's taken me a while to get out of costume, and people have donated and they'll like message me and be like, hey, like, are you gonna post that, like, blah blah blah, and I'll be like, I'm so sorry, this and this and this is going on, I'm getting to it, blah blah blah, and they're like, no problem. And in my brain, because I'm kind of a perfectionist with like that kind of stuff,
I get you.
Like, let people down. I'm like, oh my god, I really need to get this out. And they're so understanding, and it blows my mind. Same thing with like me. I'm a fan of Eric July. Listen, that dude said he was going to put out a mixtape like 2 years ago. Where is it?
I'm still waiting on Kanye Rogan. I'll be honest with you.
But he's working on on, that dude, Eric is working so hard.
Oh, yeah.
Consistently putting out content. I don't even care.
Yeah.
I'm just like eating it up. I'm like, you know what, dude? I don't even care. Make more videos, release that new album. Like, I don't care. And that's like the good kind of fans I feel like the people need.
Yes.
And I feel like people just need to be that a little bit, even with like people they follow on Twitter. Like, I don't want to call people on Twitter fans if you follow somebody.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, try to be a little bit more understanding if somebody that you follow tweets something kind of crazy and you're like, wait, I don't agree with that. Why are they tweeting this? Like, maybe like...
Honestly, if we want to encapsulate a lot of the conversation we've had today, it's kind of the idea of action versus reaction. You know, like, there's so many of the issues we brought up have been off reactions to the action of someone else, instead of being the knee jerk, off the cuff. Take a second, like you said, take 24 hours if you really feel that much about something, and that's what people aren't doing. That's what makes them bad fans. They're taking that 5-second thought and making a tweet about it that's going to last. Who knows how long that's going to be there.
Like, I had somebody get really, really mad at me because I tweeted something to the effect of, I don't trust anybody whose hand I haven't shaken or that I don't know personally in real life, even if we've met on the internet. And they were like, well, I'm your friend. And I'm like, I don't know you.
Yeah.
And they took that. They must have been like an actual fan, and they took it really personally. I'm like, I didn't mean that in a negative way. I'm just saying, I don't know you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're being malicious.
No.
And they took that, they just went off, and they were like, you're hypocritical about this, and this, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, see, this is why you're just proving my point. You could be a crazy person, and you don't know me. I could be a terrible person. Why are you even a fan of me? Like, I don't understand. Like, people just take things way too seriously, and they're just, like you said, reactive instead of being their own autonomous.
Or I think it's proactive is the actual, if you wanted to have the reactive and proactive. But that's exactly it. I don't know. It's hard to tell people to stop because we obviously still do it. Like, I guarantee you tonight I'm gonna do a reactive tweet to something.
When Matt Walsh tweeted that adults shouldn't wear costumes.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Whoops. I broke that rule.
I didn't even care. Like, that's one of the ones that I just see and I'm just like, whatever. Nice.
The only reason I responded is because it's hilarious, because I do that on like a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And then one time he said he hated dogs, and I'm like, all right, now I'm pissed. You crossed the line, dude. You can't say you hate dogs.
That is one of, like, saying something like that. That goes out of the grounds of whatever we were calling it before, trying to rile the herd or whatever you want to call it, trying to stir the pot. That's beyond pot stirring to me.
It wasn't even just that he said he hated dogs. He like wrote this paragraph in a quote tweet to someone about how, if you want a hairy mongrel flea infested something to follow you around. I'm like, dude, who hurt you?
You know what's funny? You're talking about Matt Walsh?
Yeah.
I'm literally just on my Twitter and he's the number one who to follow. I wonder if Twitter's listening to the stream and recommending Matt Walsh. I don't follow him. And I wouldn't follow him because he has one of my red flags as his bio. Pronouns we, us, our.
Oh, well, that's a joke.
I know it's a joke, but I haven't followed him on principle. Is he worth... My follow-up question is he worth following?
No.
Okay. Okay.
I don't follow him either.
Okay.
He's totally...
I don't even know who he is.
I think he's being serious. People are like, he's not being serious. I'm like, dude, I think he is being serious. But he's definitely one of those people that every tweet is just almost a constant just trying to get clicks, clickbait. And like, don't get me wrong, I do that too sometimes, but I also try to tweet genuine feelings of substance every once in a while to, or cosplay.
I don't like to do much clickbait at all, honestly. I'd rather wallow in anonymity than resort to clickbait, but that's just me.
I try, anytime I tweet something controversial, it's really my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like sometimes it isn't even his opinion.
Oh,
and a
yeah.
lot of people do on Twitter. They'll just tweet something about, I don't know, the global homo agenda or something like that for clicks. And I'm like...
Oh, apparently Beto O'Rourke is dropping out of the presidential race. Big surprise.
Oh, wow, such a surprise. Wow,
stunning.
When he said he was going to confiscate our guns, amazing.
It's actually really stunning and brave that we can have such a presidential candidate for this country that can take such a stand for the American people. That's...
Thank God the straight white male finally dropped out. Now we just need Joe Biden to drop out. We'll have true diversity. Oh, wait. It would all be women. Oh wait, no, Pete. There's Pete, but he's a gay man, so
Buttigieg.
yeah, Pete Buttigieg or whatever his name is.
How can you how can you
I think
elect a
it's
president?
Buttigieg,
Huh?
maybe. I think it's
I thought it was Buttigieg.
Buttigieg. I don't know. See, we can't even say his name. He can't
That's what I'm
say
saying. How can you be president if people can't even pronounce your name?
Like
This is America. Trump,
Trump, 90s,
Obama,
very American.
Bush, Clinton,
Yeah.
American. But Buttigieg, even as like, yeah.
I thought it was really sad with him, all the Democrats being like, he's a fake gay. I'm like, what?
I never heard that
He's
at
a
all.
husband. What do you mean he's been gay for years? It's not like he just came out before the presidential election. But they just eat their own all the time.
Oh, I found that tweet I was going to tell you about before. And I don't know. Should I mention it to you? I don't even. Here's where my boomer. I'm sorry. I know what I'm looking at. The lady who yelled at Beto.
Oh yeah. I want to see that.
Do you want me to? I don't even know. Should I mention you in a comment or retweet it with a comment and you're in it? What do you prefer?
Oh, just retweet it.
Okay. I'll just retweet it in general.
I love that the stream is just us being like, it's just like Joe Rogan.
Dude, that's what it is. Like to me.
What's his name?
Who?
The guy's name runs his stuff.
Oh, Jamie.
Jamie, pull it up.
Yeah.
Pull it up. Let's pretend we have Jamie.
I joke that I am Jamie and Joe all wrapped up in one because I do all the I pull everything up like while I'm doing. The only reason I like realistically on this stream right now, like I'll even oh no, I can't even do it right now. I don't have it set up. But like I don't know if you remember last time we did a stream, I was pulling up things. The thing is it just requires me to have a second screen set up and I'm not ready for that. Yeah, I'm not ready for that right now.
This lady is going off.
Who dat? Oh yeah, that lady? Yeah.
Watching it. She grew up in Newtown. What?
Yep. She goes in.
Trump 2020, he's saving the world, she said. Oh, they're booing her. Ew.
I know. Well, I mean, I think it was at a Beto's speaking event, so you could expect that.
I guess it was at a speaking event in Newtown, and she's like, "Why are you here? You're in Newtown for the clicks. Why aren't you in downtown communities where urban violence is a problem?" Go off.
She went off, and I was so proud of her. Like I just saw that, I was like, that's the best.
I feel bad that I'm not surprised they kicked her out. But
no, I'm not. I mean, I don't know.
It's kind of bad press for them to kick her out, to be honest, though. Like, what does this have a lot of? Do I need to share this? Oh yeah, we sharing this.
Wait, what?
It doesn't have a lot of likes, so I'm gonna share it.
Oh, that's not even the original one I saw. That's just one I saw in my timeline again. Or my feed. I saw actually a better quality one. That was just, I happened to see it again and was like, oh shit, I told her I was going to send that to her earlier. Because back when we were talking about that stuff, I didn't even have Twitter pulled up at the time.
Oh, gotcha. That's amazing.
Oh, it's...
Good to see people are actually challenging him.
Well, that's it. Is like, she is your, I was going to say every man, but she's your every woman. It's like, I know multiple women in just the area I grew up who would do that same exact thing if a grifter came into town like that, you know?
Yeah, and clearly, he's such a grifter. I'm like, ew. I didn't like him from the get-go, but...
He was just the most obvious, like, Manchurian Candidate style guy. And I even hesitate to say Manchurian Candidate because doesn't even seem that...
He lost to Ted Cruz.
I know. That's why I hesitate to say that.
I mean... I have my complaints with Ted Cruz. He is not a likable human, and he lost to Ted Cruz. So what does that say about Beto?
Says enough.
Ted Cruz is not a likable human to me. He just looks like he's a used car salesman who's trying to swindle you. And Beto lost to him.
The funny thing is, since Ted actually gave up his presidential bid, I've seen him in a few clips where I actually was like, all right, Ted. Not so bad. I can't remember anything in particular anymore. I just remember being pleasantly surprised with Ted Cruz, even though, in general, I don't like the guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like Beto. And then I found out he, like, ran away from a drunk driving accident in his 20s, and I'm like, oh.
What? I didn't hear that.
I'm triggered. Yeah, he had, like, a hit and run when he was drunk in his 20s.
I mean, I don't know. Doesn't sound surprising.
I mean, disappointed but unsurprised, yes.
Yeah, it's really what it comes down to.
Like, drunk driving is one of my issues that, libertarians make me so mad on. It's the libertarians that forget about personal responsibility because I am traumatized.
Yeah, so you're not a fan of the John McAfee libertarians?
God, I love John McAfee, but...
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I love him so much, but...
Yeah.
He needs to make audiobooks. His voice is great.
Oh, yeah. Well,
like, I would just listen to him talk for... He should have a long-form podcast. I would just sit there, like...
Well, he's done streams. He was streaming for... I don't think he's doing... I haven't really looked into him in a while. I remember within last year, I was watching him stream. Because he was out on the open ocean for a while, and he was, like, doing streams of him out on his boat.
Because he's on my Twitter. I think I caught a few shorter live streams of him.
Yeah. I mean, people have joked about him being a presidential candidate, but honestly, it's like... If he could do the campaign right, like Trump was able to, the dude could win. I think he's... The only thing is he would have to, like, curate himself kind of in the way Trump did, but I think he's smart enough, capable enough to walk the walk.
I don't think he could ever win because he has too many hit. Like, there was an entire documentary about fleas written on him just to hit piece him. Like, there's no way he could win just because of that. The media is just too against him, but...
That's my only thing is, and he's said enough triggering stuff that...
God, I mean, he's talking about fucking whales, like...
I know, but that's the thing is, it's like, to me, when you add...
Jim Acosta, source, he did not actually do this. Like, oh God, okay.
That's why, like, I really enjoy people who are, what was it, like, I don't know, when there's a word for it. When you look for ludicrous extremes all the time. There's a word for it. I can't remember. But it's like he always is going to absurdity. Absurdism is kind of what it is. And to me, I think it, like, when people get too serious, that's like where you have to go. You have to, like, say something that just makes no sense, is completely off the wall, to remind people that you're not even staying on point anymore. Sometimes people completely lose the point. They get lost on winning. And that's when he drops one of those "I fucked the whale" kind of comments. I don't know him that well. I don't know that experience, but I'm saying in general,
yeah,
that's like chaff.
I like to think about, in sadness, where the Libertarian Party would be if McAfee was doing interviews instead of Gary Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
McAfee is just so much more he might be crazy. He's just as crazy, if not more crazy, maybe, on the social side.
He's bold, and he's pretty polished in his speaking, though.
But his speaking and the way like, when he does live streams, he does, like, a 5-minute live stream, he talks about concepts and all that, I'm like, oh my God, like, he's like, if I saw him on TV and I was your average voter and I didn't know about his crazy Twitter or anything like that, and I heard him speak, I'd be like, who's this guy? He's very well spoken. Like,
that's what I mean. I'd love to see him in the debates. He would make the debates better.
Well, even in the libertarian debate, wow, he just demolished everybody else. Yeah, it was so good.
It's insanity. And well, I was gonna make. I thought you were gonna mention Ron Paul, actually.
Oh yeah.
What would it be if Ron stuck around a little longer? I mean, realistically, he owes us nothing. That's the way I look at it. He doesn't. He fought the good fight for a long time, and he didn't get.
And he's done more for. God, I could go on a whole rant about that.
I know.
And he gets shit on still, and I'm like.
He does.
Just.
I mean, honestly, he's probably one of the best Americans of the last 100 years.
He is probably one. We want to talk boomer speak real quick. He's probably one of the last Americans that actually stood for the principles about what this country supposedly stands for. Is Ron Paul?
Yeah, I would say he's the spiritual successor. Was the spiritual successor to Thomas Jefferson.
I just love him so much, and he's so nice, and his wife Carol is so nice.
Yeah. Well, and apparently he was doing that pro bono. He was doing, was it surgery? I want to say it was surgery, but I don't recall. I know his son Rand does, but like they're doing pro bono work on a weekly basis while being a sitting senator.
Yeah, they do. Rand does that as well.
Rand does it as well, but I know Ron did it. I'll be honest, Ron did more work than Rand ever does. I respect Rand to a point, but it's like with everything that was on Ron's plate, and he still did that. It's like,
Yeah.
that's in my hat.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, and he's still,
Shoot.
he's getting up there, but he gets around, he gets tired a lot faster than he used to just with his age, but honestly, he's still in great shape for his age.
Oh yeah, he still does a Liberty podcast, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does the podcast every day at 11, I think, my time, so Central Time.
Yeah.
But I watch it every now and then, him and his co-host. And they're still talking about issues, getting out there talking about issues.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't looked into it in quite a while. But I'm just looking at the time. It's going on 6 o'clock now. I only have a little bit of daylight left in my time zone here.
Well, we close out with Ron Paul. That's pretty good.
That's what I was about to say. Is I can't leave on a better note than Ron Paul. But
we'll leave us not black-pilled and talk about Ron Paul, the good old days.
that's it. The good old days of Ron Paul back. I mean, he's the one who made me even know it. I didn't know what libertarian was until I learned about Ron Paul. So.
Yeah, I was so far gone, I didn't even know about Ron Paul, so...
Oh.
Well. Yeah, but, I mean, now I do.
I was going to say, I'm glad you were brought into the fold eventually.
He's a huge influence now, so, obviously, so... Yeah.
But it was my pleasure having you on again.
Being on again.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do it again soon, or I don't know if you do your own videos, I'll be a guest if you need to if you want to have guests on sometime.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And to anyone who has stuck it out or has finally watched this and finished off, sure you give a like, subscribe. I put my Discord server. That's my goal, to have a way of having a conversation before and after streams and during, so you can talk to the guests and I about what we're talking about. So thanks for watching. And